This podcast of the Equine Forum is brought to you by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business. It all begins in 15 seconds right after this word from our podcast sponsor.
The University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business is now offering a graduate certificate, which can be completed in 15 or 30 weeks and be done as a standalone or used as 20% of your MBA. Classes at both the undergraduate and graduate level are forming now for August.
From the rail to your radio, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
That is Minette Bird now come on to take the lead as they come down to the finish in a spectacular upset. Minette Bird has won the Kentucky Derby. An impossible result here.
Final furlong. Mandaloon fighting for the front. Medina Spirit battles on. Hot Rod Charlie on the outside. Essential Quality on the far outside. The four of them heading to the finish in the Kentucky Derby. Here's the wire. Bob Baffert does it again. Medina Spirit has won the Kentucky Derby.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Into the final 250. Summer is tomorrow by 2. Crown Pride is all out in second. Ben Duga's third. Then comes Island Falcon. Here's Crown Pride getting to grips, getting the better of Summer is tomorrow, whose runner's race is Japan again. It's Crown Pride in the UAE Derby. The land of the rising sun is having a night to remember.
We're coming down to the wire. At the center's ended. Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness. The longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Well, you can't say this weekend's Derby preps haven't made their mark on the Run for the Roses. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's probably a good idea to have an armored truck waiting for you outside Churchill Downs as you leave. Good morning once again, everyone. It is indeed post time for the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum, and it's all presented by TwinSpires right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you back in the starting gate with me right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on Sirius 216, XM 204, affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast at horseracingradio.net or wherever you are accessing your podcast. Well, there are 5 Derby points races being contested over the next 2 days. 3 here in the U.S., 1 in Japan, and the UAE Derby in Dubai, which is part of today's Dubai World Cup program. You're going to hear from jockey Frankie Dettori, trainer Simon Crisford, and assistant trainer Leandro Mora in just a few minutes as they discussed their runners on the World Cup card. They did that earlier this week, and the Dubai Racing Club was kind enough to make all of those press conferences available to us, so you're going to hear from those. And for Frankie, he'll be talking about his final appearance in Dubai. This is his retirement tour, if you will. He's had so much success in Dubai. You're going to hear him talk about that coming up in just a little bit. He'll also talk about the defending champion in the Dubai World Cup, Country Grammar, who he'll be aboard right around 12:30 Eastern time this afternoon. That's post time for the Dubai World Cup. But I want to start by taking a little bit of a closer look at the impact today's prep races have had on the Kentucky Derby. And you just heard that montage as we were opening the program today. So many upsets coming from those races. Leaving the race in Japan out of the equation, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, Louisiana Derby, Sunland Derby, and UAE Derby have combined to produce 9 Kentucky Derby winners. And you might say, well, 9, that ain't so bad, Baron. But when you consider the number of winners produced by the top Kentucky Derby preps, 9 from 4 races is a pretty low number. The Florida Derby is at the top of the list with 24 Derby winners. The Bluegrass, I know it's been a while, but the Bluegrass has produced 23 Kentucky Derby winners along with the Champagne. 20 have come from the Hopeful. 20 have run in the Wood Memorial. 19 in the Santa Anita Derby. 13 have run in the Fountain of Youth on their way to the Kentucky Derby. 13 in the San Felipe. 10 in the San Vicente. All of those more than today's 4 Derby preps combined. But what today's preps lack in their numbers, I think they more than make up for when it comes to mutual returns. Think about this. Just go back and take a look at the winners that have come from those races. The Jeff Ruby Stakes has had 3 winners. Little E.T. was the first in 1992. That's when the race was called, what was it, the Spiral or the Jim Beam, or it's had so many sponsors, but it happened first in 1992. 35.60 to win for Little E.T. That's low compared to some of the numbers I'm going to tell you next. Animal Kingdom was the next one in 2011, paid $43.80 to win the Kentucky Derby. And, of course, last year, Rich Strike, who didn't even win the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and that's why he paid $163.60 for a $2 win bet in the Run for the Roses. The Louisiana Derby has had 5 winners. The first, Black Gold, all the way back in 1924. He was the favorite. He paid $5.50 to win the Derby. Grindstone, yeah, you had to wait all the way until 1996 after Black Gold in 1924. Grindstone came out of the Louisiana Derby, paid $13.80 to win, so not earth-shattering numbers. Funny Side in 2003 paid $27.60. Country House in 2019 was put up for the win, paid $132.40. And Mandaloon in 2021, you didn't get a win payoff on him, even though he is now declared the winner of the Kentucky Derby. He was 26 to 1, though, so he would have paid somewhere in the ballpark of $54 to win had he actually crossed the finish line first. The Sunland Derby has had 1 winner. They made a movie about him. Mind That Bird, 50 to 1. That was in 2009, paid $103.20. And the UAE Derby is 0 for 18 and is yet to have a horse hit the board on the first Saturday in May. Their best finish, Master of Hounds, 5th in 2011. The average payout for a $2 win bet with horses coming from today's prep races, not including Mandaloon, is $65.68. So if you like a horse coming out of one of those races later today, it's probably not a bad idea to have a Brinks truck on call, because you're going to get paid. And in case you're wondering, the Kentucky Derby continues to edge ever closer. Now just 42 days, 10 hours, 37 minutes, and 48 seconds away. But, you know, this is the time of year, and it's been like this for months now, and it's like this every year. So much emphasis is placed on the Kentucky Derby that the ladies often get overlooked. So let's spend a little time talking about the 3-year-old fillies and what that picture looks like. There are 3 Kentucky Oaks points races slated for today. Yeah, believe it or not, they actually have points races for the Kentucky Oaks, too. The Bourbonnette Oaks at Turfway, the Sunland Park Oaks at Sunland, and the race right before the Louisiana Derby, the fairgrounds, is the Grade 2 Fairgrounds Oaks. And I have to think that if either Pretty Mischievous or Hoosier Philly wins that race later today, they're going to be the favorite at Churchill Downs on Friday, May 5th. That's your Kentucky Oaks favorite. The top 5 in the Kentucky Oaks point standings right now are Wet Paint, winner of the Grade 3 Honeybee at Oaklawn, Pretty Mischievous, who I just mentioned, Dorth Vader, the Devona Dale winner from Gulfstream, Mimi Kikuchi, who won the UAE Oaks on February 17th, and Sheeta Beauty, winner of the Busher at Aqueduct. Champion Wonder Wheel is 6th, and Hoosier Philly is currently 9th. So my poll question today, we're not going to forget about the ladies here on HRN. Who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now? That's the poll question. Go to @HRN on Twitter to let me know your thoughts. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. And if you don't do social media, no big deal. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now? And the folks at Fairgrounds sent out some information on both the Louisiana Derby and the Fairgrounds Oaks earlier this week. And one of the things that they pointed out in that information is that trainer Tom Amos won the 2018 edition of the Fairgrounds Oaks with Chocolate Martini. That was a filly he claimed just 6 weeks prior for only $30,000. In 2020, he sent out Serengeti Empress, who ran 7th in the Fairgrounds Oaks as the favorite, didn't show up that day, but returned to win the Kentucky Oaks at odds of 13-1. And, of course, today he has Hoosier Filly, who last time out, for whatever reason, you can blame the stumble at the start, you can blame her being in between horses, all of these kinds of things that are going to be talked about with Hoosier Filly. He has her back today in the Fairgrounds Oaks. And if she wins that race, forget about what happened in her 3-year-old debut. If she wins that race today, I don't think there's any question that Hoosier Filly is going to be your favorite for the Kentucky Oaks. And same goes for Pretty Mischievous. Both of those horses, really, really good. And that's no disrespect to Wonder Wheel, the filly champion. It's no disrespect to Wet Paint or Dorth Vader or the other horses that I just mentioned. But I just think, from what we've seen so far, Hoosier Filly, Pretty Mischievous, if either one of them win that race today, they're going to set themselves apart from the rest of the field. But it's not just about the 3-year-olds today. Dubai World Cup taking place, as I mentioned, later on this afternoon. But is it possible that the best older horse in training isn't even in Dubai this weekend? Is he in New Orleans? Maybe. The Pegasus World Cup winner, Art Collector, opted to not make the trip to Dubai, and is the 8-5 morning line favorite in today's Grade 2 New Orleans Classic. Art Collector is not going to get talked about the way Country Grammar is, or Panthalassa for that matter. But Flightline's retirement at the end of last year leaves the door wide open for somebody to step through and be the leader in this division. And do you trust Country Grammar to be that horse the rest of the year after he comes back from Saudi Arabia and Dubai? The trip to Dubai, we always hear that trip can knock horses out. He's gone to Saudi Arabia. Now he's gone to Dubai. When he gets back here, how much is Country Grammar going to have left in the tank? Do you trust him to be the horse that's going to dominate that older horse division this year? I think Art Collector has put himself into a really nice position by not making the trip to Dubai. And maybe that had to do with the fact that when he shipped to the Saudi Cup last year, ended up finishing 12th of 14, beaten 20 lengths. Maybe that's the reason he didn't go to Dubai, because of what happened when they tried to ship him around the world last year. But now he comes back from that race, returns at Saratoga last year, wins the Alydar, comes back, defends his title in the Charlestown Classic. And he still wasn't getting a lot of respect because people were like, well, that's a bull ring. It's the Charlestown Classic. It's not really a true test. Well, he proved everybody wrong when he came back and won the Pegasus World Cup in his 6-year-old debut. They could have retired him. They decided to keep him in training. They could have gone to Dubai. They decided to stay home, go to the New Orleans Classic. And I'm going to ask owner Bruce Lunsford why they made those decisions. What went in to the decision-making process? Number one, not to retire Art Collector. But number two, not to go to Dubai. Bruce is going to be with me coming up at 8:35 Eastern. I'll get a chance to talk with him and ask him those questions. Trainer Cherie DeVaux going to be with me at 9 o'clock. She sends out Cagliostro in today's Louisiana Derby. I'll get a chance to visit with her. 9:20, Todd Fincher will join me from Sunland Park. He'll send out one of the favorites in today's Sunland Park Derby, so I'm looking forward to having a conversation with him. That's Henry Q. Speedy Henry Q. We'll see if Henry Q lives up to the hype that he's developed going into the Sunland Park Derby. And then trainer Ken McPeek at 9:40. And Kenny's busy today. He has Rattle and Roll in the New Orleans Classic. He has Tiz the Bomb in the Muniz Memorial Classic. And 2 horses in the Louisiana Derby, Sun Thunder and Dennington. So he's going to be a very busy man at the fairgrounds later this afternoon. He also has Escapologist in the Jeff Ruby Stakes and Camp Hope in the TwinSpires Kentucky Cup Classic. So I'll talk to Kenny about all those horses coming up at 9:40. 10 o'clock, Scott Shapiro is going to join me from the fairgrounds to talk about the TwinSpires Triple Play. He'll give you 3 races you can keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, coming up at 10:20. And Dale Roman's Tim Wilkin. I ask, they answer. They'll both be here at 10:30. And I'm going to ask them who their leading ladies are. Their top 3-year-old fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. We'll see what they have to say. But that is our poll question. Don't forget to go to @HRRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and let me know who you feel are the top contenders on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now. When I come back, you're going to hear from Frankie Dettori, Simon Crisford, and Leandro Mora talking about their runners on this afternoon's Dubai World Cup program. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Airdrie Stud is proud to announce the arrival of Grade 1 winning millionaire Happy Saver for the 2023 season. Happy Saver boasts one of the most important female families of the century, as his third dam is Broodmare of the Year Weekend Surprise, dam of the legendary AP Indy. Undefeated in his first 5 starts, Happy Saver capped off his perfect 4-for-4 season with an emphatic victory in the historic Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
And Happy Saver stays undefeated. He steps up and he wins the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup.
Airdrie Studs, Happy Saver. Think about it.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
There's plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet with live racing Wednesday through Sunday. Don't miss the Triple Crown prep races, including the Fountain of Youth Stakes on March 4th and the Florida Derby Saturday, April 1st. Enjoy the races outdoors from the Carousel Club, our Feast in 10 Palms, offering a premium view of the races. For stake schedules, reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Adina Stallions set the gold standard, all #1 in their category. Point of entry, the #1 stallion by black type and greatest stakes winners standing in Canada.
Oh, the classy point of entry would not be denied.
Shaman Ghost, the #1 second crop sire standing in Canada.
It's Shaman Ghost, an overwhelming force in the last 16th of a mile.
Signature Red, the #1 stallion by percentage of black type winners standing in Canada.
Signature Red won his second Highlander in a row.
And Silent Name, the #1 stallion by percentage of black type performers standing in Canada. A list that includes Grade 1 winner Silent Poet.
Silent Poet in front, Admiralty Pier out the ground, but Silent Poet has won the Highlander Stakes.
And don't forget Adina's new sire, American Guru. His first crop are now yearlings of 2023. American Guru, the son of Unbridled Song, whose family have already set their gold standards around the world.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They go to the top of the straight. They got just over 400 meters left to run, and Life is Good guides them into the home straight. Now gets asked a question, but he's kicked 2 lanes clear of Midnight Bourbon, who's second. Country Grammar third. Hot Rod Charlie's towards the inside rail. Then comes Chewer Wizard, 200 meters out. Life is Good is the leader. Country Grammar second. Hot Rod Charlie continues to gain ground towards the inside. Life is Good with a target on his back. Country Grammar getting the upper hand, draws alongside, and Country Grammar with his dates with destiny in front, a length and a half. Country Grammar won the Dubai World Cup. Hot Rod Charlie ran second, Chewer Wizard third. Life is Good didn't go the 2,000 meters, ran fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna with you on this Saturday morning. Country Grammar, the winner of the Dubai World Cup a year ago, back in action later today. Looking to defend his title, he'll square off with Pantalassa and everybody else. It's a contentious race. We'll see if Country Grammar is up to the task. He also has to overcome a wide post position draw. He is drawn almost to the very outside. The only horse to his outside in today's race is Pantalassa. And he'll be accompanied by Frankie Dettori, who was aboard last year. Frankie met with the media this week, and here's what he had to say about being back in Dubai, about his final trip to Dubai, and about Country Grammar.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to Meydan. Building up to World Cup 2023, we're joined by a man who's looking for his 5th win in the race, Electrocutionist, Moon Ballad, Country Grammar, and way back Dubai Millennium 23 years ago. Gave Frankie Dettori his first win in the Dubai World Cup. Frankie, we know this is a significant year for you, and this must be a big week as well, being back here in Dubai, a place that's given you so many good memories.
Yes, of course. I worked for Godolphin for 18 years and spent many winters with my family. My kids grew up here as well. So, he's always feels quite emotional and special when I get here. So this is no different. It's my last World Cup. So, and I ride 2 horses that have won here already. So it's extra pressure on, and I'm looking forward to it.
And how did it feel coming out of the airport, coming back here, knowing this is going to be your final time with a chance on a Dubai World Cup card?
I'll be honest with you, I'm completely jet lagged, so I didn't feel that good. Yeah, listen, I'm just thinking of the task ahead. I've got 7 rides on Saturday, and I got to prepare myself equally for my best for every one of them. So I've got plenty on my mind at the moment, and obviously with the draw yesterday, now we can get to work. And yes, I'm not just thinking of my farewell. I'm thinking I'll try to do well on Saturday.
And looking back over the years, the 23 years since your first win in the Dubai World Cup, how have you seen racing here in Dubai develop and change?
Well, look, it started with Nader Al-Shiba back in the day. It was just a jockey's challenge. And then was it 96 when Cigar won and we had the torrential rain. So, I mean, Dubai World Cup now is established in the racing calendar, is one of the major races. And then Sheikh Mohammed created Meydan, what is a probably unique track with an amazing grandstand and with amazing racing. So, I've seen it develop from Cigar to now. So it's been, it seems like yesterday, but I think nearly 30 years, right?
Yeah, nearly 30. And what would be your favourite memory looking back over all of your big wins here?
Well, obviously, Dubai Millennium is probably the best horse that I've ridden. That performance, he broke his own track record. Then he stood till, Nader Al-Shiba got replaced by Meydan. So I would say, and it was my first one as well, and it was the Millennium year, so many good memories, But look, all the other 3 were special too, so I'm not going to discard them that quickly.
And how satisfying was it last year to win on Country Grammar? You'd gone quite a long time since the Dubai World Cup win. Was it you getting to that stage of your career where you were thinking that the chance of winning another one might just be starting to evaporate?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Now that I'm not riding for Godolphin, I thought, I'd be very, very hard to get another chance. I did have a couple of rides in the past, but really not at the standard of Country Grammar. And it just fate, really, because I was here last winter and I went to see a polo match with my friend. It was his birthday. And I met Amir Zidane. And he was explaining to me that he was a big fan of mine, that he won the Kentucky Derby and so on and so forth. And he loved me to ride his horses one day. And then I was at Cheltenham, and my agent told me that Flavian Prat decided to ride something else. So I managed to ring Zidane, where I kept his number from that famous polo game. I wasn't playing, by the way. I was just enjoying myself. And I called him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love you to ride a horse, just ring Bob." So he gave me Bob's number, and I called him. I was at Cheltenham watching the races, and And that's how I got the ride. A month later, he wins the World Cup. Just be in the right place at the right time, to say, right?
And how do you assess his chances coming back 12 months on?
I mean, obviously, it looks a very, very competitive race. Last year, beforehand, we thought that Life is Good was unbeatable, and it probably was till the furlong pole. Then it just collapsed. This year, more strengths in depth, 8 Japanese runners, multiple Group 1 winners, massive field. One thing for sure with Country Grammar is all heart. He leaves everything on the track. He knows he's going to run till the end. So I couldn't ask for a better companion, but, he's not going to be easy. Like I said, obviously 14 is not ideal, but I spoke to Amir Zidane last night. I said, listen, it is what it is. We can't change it now. So let's get on with it and see how the race unfolds. But like I said, I can't really say a bad word about Country Grammar because, if you look at his form, he's all guts. He's a proper horse.
And we really saw that in Saudi. I guess you can take plenty of encouragement from the way you ran that day. You looked as though you got him out of the money coming out the backstretch, and somehow he managed to pop up there in second.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even the way that he ran in the San Antonio, he was sharp and he made my life easy. I was kind of in the back of my mind, I was expecting him to be a little bit like that, but I was outpaced around the turn and I thought, well, I'm in trouble here. But again, same as last year in the World Cup. I mean, he just does not know how to give up. And sometimes he runs out of runway, but he knows that he's going to give you everything he's got.
And what would a win in the Dubai World Cup on your final ride in the race, given the attachment you have to this place, what would it mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know, but obviously it's a big race. I'm not thinking of that at the moment. I'm just thinking of trying to get the job done, right?
Try to get a job done. That's what Frankie Dettori is going to try and do again today. He's done it as good as anybody over the years. We'll see if Country Grammar can overcome the outside draw. He has the right man in the saddle if he's going to be able to do it. Well, one of his other main rivals in the race is Algiers, who comes from the barn of Simon Crisford. Algiers has had a ton of success in Dubai. He is carrying the local hopes later today. He'll break just to the inside of Country Grammar. And here's what Simon Crisford had to say about his charge.
Algiers, big chance in the Dubai World Cup on Saturday. Simon, he's been one of the stories, probably the story of the Dubai Carnival this year. Almost come out of nowhere to be one of the principal chances for Saturday.
Well, that's true. He's vastly improved for running on this track. He loves the dirt here. He's acclimatized incredibly well throughout the winter, but he's a natural on this surface, and it really plays to his strengths. So he's taken us by surprise. I have to say, his dominant displays have really surprised us. But luckily, he did it twice. If he just did it the once, I'd be a bit nervous about it all. But he's done it twice now, and he's had a good break. He's fit. He's well. He goes into the race in best possible shape, as good as we've had him all winter. So, he's going to have to run as well and a bit better because we're now running against big international horses that are fantastic quality. So, we're expecting a good display.
He's drawn a little wide.
He is, but, when we sort of thought about that, we've got speed horses on our outside. I think we'd all, I've talked to Ed about this and James Doyle, I think we'd all rather be there than down on the rail. So it's not ideal, but both of his prep races here at the Carnival, he was drawn widest of all.
He's got that tactical speed as well to overcome any sort of offset.
Well, he's got some gate speed, and he's going to need it on Saturday night. He'll need to get into the race and get a very good position early on. We don't want to drop him in and ride him out the back. We want to be sitting in a nice, handy position.
With your son on the licence, well, if he's there at the furlong pole, a chance as well to be possibly winning, it would be a dream come true, I'm sure.
It would be a huge dream come true, but as I've said to Ed, we're going to try not to dream too much about it beforehand. We'll dream afterwards, but it's very exciting and it means a lot. And we've been in Dubai for 30 odd years and seen it develop, the progress this fabulous country has made, over the years. And, you know, in the world of horse racing, you know, here in the Middle East, it's just unbelievable during the winter, and it's fantastic.
And he's a locally owned horse as well, and by Chamerdal, sort of a Godolphin horse too all along.
He is a local horse. He belongs to a local owner. We are local trainers. We have a license here as well as in England. So there's nothing, it's all Dubai. This horse is, you know, the hopes of a nation are resting on his shoulders. And
no pressure.
We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it.
Now, post time for the Dubai World Cup, 12:35 Eastern. So circle that one and mark it in your calendar for later this afternoon. After I wrap things up at 11 o'clock, you can tune in and watch Algiers and watch Country Grammar and Panthalassa. Should be a tremendous renewal later this afternoon. Post time for the UAE Derby, the Kentucky Derby points qualifier, is 9:50 Eastern time this morning. And trainer Doug O'Neill has made a habit of sending horses to Dubai and running them in this race. He has Tall Boy, he has Ajiz going in this year's renewal, and his assistant trainer, Leandro Mora, talked about both of those horses earlier this week.
Congratulations once again, a pretty good carnival. You happy?
Very happy. We brought in 6 horses, and not knowing that we were going to qualify some for the World Cup. Now we got 2. Actually it was 3, but one of the decision wasn't just to keep those 2 in there. So 50% made it to the World Cup. It's not bad to qualify, though.
Right. And you said right at the start of the carnival, the one you were really excited about was Tall Boy.
Yes. Once we left the States, I knew this horse because I like to watch horses and train every morning, and I like what he does during his training. He gallops like there's no tomorrow, let's say that in English, and he's not excited. It's one of those horses waiting for you in command, so I think he's got a lot to learn, so this will be a lot for him, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. And where would you like to draw with him?
Well, usually every trainer likes inside numbers, like let's say 2 to 5, 2 to 7, and not way outside, but if whatever it takes, whatever happens, we'll take it. Because we where we are, anywhere where we're racing, lots of times we go against the odds and we still finish pretty well. Like the filly Amy played, she was way outside and still managed to finish third on the last race. So I think we're happy with any number.
He ran a great race.
Yes.
And the other horse, RG, is it a bit of a bonus that he's made it?
He is very good, a little bonus, and then he's like King. He likes to rule his own thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does well also, because he likes to do it. And also, if he follows his papa's steps, it'll be nice, because Mendelssohn went pretty impressive here in AU Derby.
Oh, really good. And what are your jockey plans? Who rides?
Well, Tyler Gaffleone is going to ride Ajiz, and William Buick's riding Tall Boy.
And we'll see. I told you earlier in the show that the UAE Derby does not have a good record in the Kentucky Derby. 0 for 18. Maybe this is the year that streak is snapped. Who knows? You have to think it's going to happen eventually. Maybe it's Ajiz, maybe it's Tall Boy, or somebody else that comes from that race and has an impact on the first Saturday in May. All right, when I come back, I'm going to continue to talk about the older horse division, but I'll do it with Bruce Lunsford, the owner of Art Collector, who goes to the Post in New Orleans later this afternoon. That's next, right after your Legends of the Turf.
This is the story of a man who, by accomplishment, was the picture of a veritable giant on the palette of the world of thoroughbred racing. From modest beginnings in Pennsylvania to his death at the age of 86, he had experienced unparalleled success in both racing and breeding. The green and white silks of his stable were accountable for 4 Kentucky Derby winners. He was born December 12, 1859 in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where in his early years he worked in steel mills and other industrial establishments. Recognizing very quickly that his future lay in other forms of human endeavor, so to speak, he heeded Horace Greeley's advice to head west to become part of our nation's then burgeoning westward expansion. He became both a prospector and a gold miner, and in a relatively short period of time managed to accrue enough equity to head for the windy city on the banks of Lake Michigan, Chicago, where he began to invest in real estate. In 1898, at the age of 39, he acquired a small stable of horses as part of following a physician's advice to get out into the open air more extensively. The first horse he purchased was named Fair John, and that horse registered the first win for the soon-to-be renowned stable at Harlem, Illinois, July 27, 1898. The best of his early stable of thoroughbreds was named Bad News, because it traveled so fast, of course, who was by Flying Dutchman out of Black Sleeves. The horse had been purchased as a 3-year-old from Woodford and Buckner. In 1906, he bought a 335-acre tract of land in the bluegrass of Kentucky and expanded his interests into breeding. That farm eventually embraced some 1,500 acres and housed such prominent stallions as Helmet, Black Tony, North Star III, Black Servant, Bubbling Over, Burgo King, Balladeer, Bimlick, and Blue Larkspur. The name of the farm was Idle Hour Farm and spawned 4 homebred Kentucky Derby winners: Behave Yourself in 1921, Bubbling Over in 1926, Burgo King in 1932, and Broker's Tip in 1933. The latter broke his maiden in that Derby, winning that infamous stretch duel with Headplay. Other notables from a virtually endless list that came from the Idle Hour Farm just outside Lexington included Baba Kenny, Big Pebble, B-Mac, and Busher. This gentleman accumulated enormous wealth from a variety of vocational interests, including Chicago real estate holdings, extensive newspaper interests, and the Beach Club Casino in Palm Beach, Florida. He was a man widely known for his charity and philanthropy, with extensive involvement in projects such as orphanages and other worthy enterprises. Among his turf-related accomplishments were the development of the Fairgrounds Racetrack in New Orleans as a winter site for thoroughbred racing, and through his breeding stock was greatly responsible for the success of such subsequent luminaries of the world of racing as John W. Galbraith, Edward Morris, and movie mogul Louis B. Mayer. He died at the age of 86 on August 15, 1946, although the permanent influence of this octogenarian on the history and development of the American turf will always be indelibly emblazoned on its most glowing of pages. That man who made the green and white silks of the Idle Hour Farm, the stuff of which legends are made, was a true titan of the thoroughbred world, and his story is indeed a great moment in thoroughbred racing. He was Colonel E. R. Bradley.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up, and if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast, with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed for Sales, Kentucky.
Live racing returns to Santa Anita this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so come join us for great racing and good times this weekend. On Saturday, first post time for a 9-race card is at 1 o'clock, and our main event is the $100,000 Desert Stormer for fillies and mares at 6 furlongs. Fans, be sure to join the fun for a special Monday card with free parking, free admission, and a free racing program, along with $3 beers, $5 margaritas, and $2 hot dogs. And be sure to mark Saturday, April 8th on your calendar as the Grade 1 $750,000 Run Happy Santa Anita Derby will highlight a tremendous day of racing that'll also include 5 other stakes that include the Grade 2 Santa Anita Oaks, the Grade 2 Charles Whittingham, and the Grade 3 Monrovia. That's all on Run Happy Santa Anita Derby Day, Saturday, April 8th. Just east of Pasadena in Arcadia, Santa Anita. It's the great race place.
Perennial leading consigner Eddie Woods is off to another fast start in 2023.
New Grange takes the San Pasqual, but Hopkins is too strong, finishing up powerfully to win the Palos Verdes, and it's Newgate to score by about a head. Reincarnate to take the sham. It's Rocket Can to win the Holy Bull.
Additional 2023 stakes winners include Occult, Lane Way, and Cherie, who took the Jumeirah Derby in Dubai. Find your next winner at the Eddie Woods consignment at OBS March. Visit eddywoods.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Cyberknife better pick up his bowl game. He's angling to the clear for a run. Get her number swings widest of all for an upset possibility as Art Collector has run to the front. Less than a quarter of a mile to come. It's Art Collector in front. Defunded counter punches from the inside second. Back to third, it's Stiletto Boy. Nothing much running home from the back. Last Samurai for a slice, but Art Collector is kicked clear. Art Collector in the colors of Bruce Lunford. They're going to win the Pegasus World Cup going away. Art Collector and Junior Alvarado win by 4 in the end. Defunded was second. Stiletto Boy ran third. Close for fourth between Last Samurai and Proxy. The final running time, 1:49 and 44 100 seconds.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning. As always, that was Pete Aiello with the call of the Pegasus World Cup and a huge victory for Art Collector, who returns in New Orleans later today, his first start since winning that Pegasus World Cup in January. And I asked you at the top of the show, is it possible that the best older horse in training is not in Dubai today? Maybe he is in New Orleans. Maybe it's Art Collector. That division is wide open, and I know that that would be okay with owner Bruce Lunsford if Art Collector was at the head of the class. And Bruce is with me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing very well. I know that you're going to be making your way to Fairgrounds in just a little bit, so it's a huge day for you. But let's start with that performance that we saw at Gulfstream Park a few weeks back. Art Collector, so good that day.
Well, I think Bill and I talked a lot, and I was pretty comfortable that it was going to be a good race for him. I had no idea he was going to run as good as he did. But I think we really felt like we'd figured out, and I'll give Bill all that credit, that we got in a position where we thought we had him right where we wanted him, and he did everything he could ask for. And so, we decided to try to pick some spots to run, because a lot of the races, that you want to run into are going to be more toward the end of the year. And we're going to hope we can hold him together by running him, kind of every few weeks. And I'll say this, he overcame a lot when he was younger, never bad enough to retire him, but little things with his foot. And it looks like we got that under control for the time being. And he looked like it the other day.
Bruce, I'm sure you could have made the decision to retire him after the Pegasus World Cup, but you said, no, we're going to keep him in training. What went into that decision?
Well, I think he's getting better. I think that age group, his mom was at her best when she was older, and several others along that crowd have done that. And so maybe she's now maybe he's getting into his prime.
Well, that could mean that he is at the head of the class in this older horse division. Flightline's retirement left this division wide open, and maybe Art Collector is the horse to step through. You could have gone to Dubai, but you stay home and go to New Orleans instead. How come?
Well, I think it's hard on a horse, and it was for him when I sent him over there for the Saudi Arabia Cup. And, I think it was a lot of different circumstances. Then he got stuck there for, as you remember, for like 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I said that earlier in the show. I kind of had a feeling that might have played into the decision to keep him home. The game plan now is to kind of space out his starts and point for the Breeders' Cup, I would imagine.
Yeah, and we got to think about going to our old standby, the Charlestown Classic. I love those guys.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I've said for months now that Art Collector doesn't get the respect he deserves, probably because of the fact that he keeps winning that race at Charlestown, and people don't look at it the same as they do winning a race at Belmont or Gulfstream or Keeneland or someplace else.
I think that's right, but they didn't look at the race in Florida the same as they did the better races until the last 3 or 4 years, and now and she's done a nice job of getting that race together and brings good horses, and it's a quality event. They've done a lot with all the entertaining and everything down there. I think it's been a good show, and it's a good time of year down there.
You said you talked to Bill Mott before the Pegasus World Cup, and you were expecting the horse to run well, maybe not as good as he did, but you were expecting a good performance. What's Bill been telling you over the past few weeks leading up to the New Orleans Classic?
That's right. He's acted well. I'll say this. I think it's a quality race down there today. I looked at it last night, and I think there's several horses. If we weren't in there, you'd probably have a hard time picking a favorite at the same level they're trying to do it now. But I think, if you look at the one thing that sometimes the past helps you with the future, in the race that we ran last time, the horses that ran behind us, like second, third, fourth, they all went out to Santa Anita, and I think ran 1, 2, 3, Defunded and a couple of others, and then of course the Samurai horse, he's won twice big races out there since. So I think we've been running against good company, and we've performed pretty well. And if you look at all the horses while he was in training, we might have had some bad races against him. We also had good races against him and won. I think, but he's always had problems with his feet, and I think Bill's got that straightened out. I hope so.
Yeah, visiting with owner Bruce Lunsford here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Art Collector going to the post in New Orleans later today. He's the 8-5 morning line favorite. Bill, this is not your Bruce, this is not your Bill. I called you Bill Mott. You're the owner. Bill Mott is the trainer. You can't do both, Bruce.
That's right. Well, there have been some of those guys that have done that over the years, but it's too much for me.
Yeah, in my book, you're a Hall of Fame owner, though, because you've been around some pretty good horses in your time, going back to Madcap Escapade and Stacked Deck and Tessa Blue, Bel Air Beauty. You've had some good ones. And I was thinking about that relationship with Bill Mott. Wasn't it Vision and Verse, who was second in the 99 Belmont, that you were involved with, too?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Actually, she was out of the dam of our mare now. He was a sweet horse, and I liked him. I thought, it was a great experience. It was by a gift of a Storm Cats season from my buddy W.T. Young, and that was a lot of fun. Made it special.
So this relationship with Bill Mott goes back decades. What's made it so successful, and how have you been able to continue that relationship at this level for so many years?
Well, I think I've always had a lot of respect for Bill, to the point that, if I didn't really have a good horse, I wouldn't send the horse to him, because he's got plenty of horses to train and send to the races. And I got another one this year that looks okay. Classic Legacy looks like he might turn out to be okay as he gets older.
Bruce, this never gets old, does it?
No, it's been 30+ years for me, and I've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and you're a wonderful ambassador for the sport. You're always out there with a positive message. What do you say to prospective new owners thinking about getting into the game today?
Well, I think the thing I did best is I really got lucky on mentorship, because I had Seth Hancock and I had Bill Young and John Gaines that were really good to me and did a lot to help me along the way. And I think I've established a broodmare band because of them, and not a large one. You don't get yourself stuck in too many horses that you got to pay for, and kind of stay in the game at a reasonable cost, and hopefully have some fun with.
What's the best
and I
thing?
What Canada too? I like Canada too. I like it.
Yeah, Canada's fantastic. What have you enjoyed most about owning racehorses?
The people I've gotten to meet, a lot of them, and a lot of people are in the horse business who have succeeded in other areas of their life, and they've been good mentors and advisors to me. I've lost a few of them, but at this particular stage, I like where I'm at. I still got Seth around to help me, and we've always had a good relationship. And of course, Bill, this is like a dream come true for us to get back together at this age and have fun. We've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, you really couldn't associate yourself with better people, and I think they would feel the same way too, Bruce. Listen, really appreciate it. I know you have to go catch a flight and get down there to New Orleans. Good luck today with Art Collector, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon, my friend.
Okay, sounds great, Mike. Thanks.
All right.
Be good. Bye-bye.
Bruce Lunsford here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. You think about the horses that Bruce has been associated with. Certainly Vision and Verse, second in the Belmont in 1999, and then Madcap Escapade. That was when I first got to meet Bruce Lunsford, get involved with him, and know what type of person he was, and really get a sense for his passion for the sport. Madcap Escapade won the Ashland in 2004. And, of course, she went on to win other greatest stakes races too, but that was maybe her signature win in 2004. And she was so good, and Bruce was always so accommodating. And you can tell he still has that passion. And, of course, I guess you could say, well, it's easy when you've got Madcap Escapade and Bel Air Beauty and Stacked Deck and Art Collector and those graded stakes winners in your barn. But I'm sure he would tell you, if we had more time to have a conversation, I'm sure he would have told you that there were times when things were a little bit lean and he wasn't getting those kinds of horses. But he surrounded himself with good people, Seth Hancock, Bill Mott, winners, and people who do things right by the horse. And it's been a great ride for him, and I want to wish him all the best with Art Collector. I don't know if he's the best horse in training. I don't know if he'll turn out to be the best horse in training this year. As I said, he doesn't get the respect he deserves, I think, because he's won the Charlestown Classic twice, but that's not his only big win. Of course, the Pegasus World Cup last time out, but he won the Woodward at Belmont. That ain't a bull ring. And maybe because of the fact that his efforts in races like the Breeders' Cup Classic and the Saudi Cup haven't been particularly good. Matter of fact, they've been very poor. Maybe that's what people are waiting for with Art Collector before they want to put him up to that next level in the older horse division. Maybe they want to see him break out in one of those main events. But winning the Woodward, winning the Charlestown Classic a couple of times, and winning the Pegasus World Cup, that's all right in my book. I'd love to have a horse and own a horse that could win those races. So good luck to the folks with the connections of Art Collector. And by the way, how about Jockey Junior Alvarado, who was aboard for that Pegasus World Cup win? Good luck to him, too. One of the real good guys in the sport of thoroughbred racing. When I come back, it is time for Bobby Neuman's weekly edition of Calling All 3-Year-Olds presented by Spendthrift, and then I'll get you ready for hour number 2, which is loaded with Kentucky Derby conversation. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolate candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
In honor of all those we've lost to cancer and those still fighting and thriving, like basketball analyst and cancer champion Dick Vitale.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities, victory over setbacks, victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Donate to the V Foundation to join our team and help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
100% of donations fund game-changing cancer research. Donate now to the V Foundation at v.org.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Hi, this is jockey Brian Hernandez. For me, there's no bigger thrill than crossing the finish line in front, and nobody captures the excitement of our sport like Horse Racing Radio Network. Each week, HRRN brings you exclusive talk shows, podcasts, and in-depth conversations with the biggest names in racing, jockeys, trainers, owners, and more. Plus, HRRN is committed to helping disabled riders through their support of the PDJF. So climb aboard a winner today by visiting horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're all in line. And they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling All 3-Year-Olds with Bobby Neuman.
The 3-year-olds with Kentucky Derby dreams get back into action this weekend with 5 points qualifiers around the world. Let's start today at Fairgrounds with the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby. 200 Kentucky Derby points up for grabs as a full field of 12 competes over 9 furlongs, led by Brad Cox's multiple graded stakes winner Instant Coffee. Sun Thunder, King's Barnes, and Tappett's Conquest are also major players in the fight for the $1 million purse. At Turfway Park, graded stakes winners Two Fills and Major Dude tried the synthetic surface for the first time. They're part of a full field that includes Battaglia Champ Congruent, as well as talented New York-bred Maker's Candy, among others. Despite taking place in Dubai, the UAE Derby is part of the American Road to the Roses today. The Aidan O'Brien trainee Cairo is the logical favorite and will try to convert his strong turf and synthetic form to conventional dirt before a possible trip to Churchill Downs. There's also the Fukuru Stakes at Nakayama Racecourse in Japan. On Sunday, the Grade 3 Sunland Park Derby offers 50 qualifying points to the eligible winner. Bob Baffert ships in graded stakes place Hard to Figure to take on former stablemate Fort Bragg, along with Henry Q, who was a runaway winner of the Mind That Bird Derby at Sunland last month. Next week, we'll take a close look at both the Grade 1 Florida Derby and the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
Spendthrift Farm introduces new for 2023 Classic winner Mo Donegal. A leading 2-year-old of his class, Mo Donegal won the Grade 2 Remsen Stakes to close out his juvenile campaign before going on to win the Grade 2 Wood Memorial and Grade 1 Belmont Stakes as a 3-year-old, joining Nyquist as Classic winners by Uncle Mo.
And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes.
Mo Donegal became the first horse this century to capture New York's prestigious Remsen at 2 and Wood Memorial at 3. Mo Donegal, the newest Classic winner, standing at Spendthrift.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Go Rocket Ride. He ran well in the San Felipe despite his lack of experience. Look for further improvement in the Santa Anita Derby on April 8th. Number 4, Tappet Trice overcame a tough trip to win the Tampa Bay Derby. He's pointing for the Bluegrass at Keeneland, also on the 8th of April. Number 3, Practical Move. The San Felipe winner continues to improve. He's the logical favorite in the Santa Anita Derby. Number 2 is Instant Coffee. Looked great winning his last couple, and he's the logical favorite in today's Louisiana Derby. Number 1, Forte. The 2-year-old champ looked great, the Fountain of Youth. Next stop, the Florida Derby next Saturday. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Old segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
42 days, 9 hours, 47 minutes, and 20 seconds until the Run for the Roses, which means we are just 41 days away from the Run for the Lilies and the Kentucky Oaks, and that is our poll question today. Who were your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now? Let me know your thoughts. You can go to @HRRN on our Twitter page. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, and you can email the show if you don't do social media. Mike@horseracingradio.net. Who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now? This is the time of year when the girls kind of get overlooked. So I want to make sure that on a day where there are 3 Kentucky Oaks points races being run, or a weekend that there are 3, that we're shining the spotlight on the ladies too. So go and let me know your thoughts. I'll update the poll question as we move throughout the show. Coming up in hour number 2, I'll kick it off with trainer Cherie DeVaux. She's going to talk about Cagliostro, who she sends out in today's Grade 2 Louisiana Derby. Todd Fincher going to be with me from Sunland Park. He'll look ahead to tomorrow's Sunland Park Derby. And then Ken McPeek coming up at 9:40, and he's going to talk about just about every race that's out there this weekend because he has horses running at Turfway. He has horses running in New Orleans. and he's represented in all the big stakes races today. So I'll get a chance to talk to Kenny at 9:40. 10 o'clock Eastern, Scott Shapiro will be with me with this week's edition of the TwinSpires Triple Play. 10:20, Kurt Becker will take you on a weekly stroll through racing history. And at 10:30, Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin are both going to be with me for this week's I Ask, They Answer. So a lot of things to get to. I'm back with hour number 2 right after I pause 10 seconds for station identification and your Visit Barbados racing update. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Seven graded stakes top this weekend's schedule in the U.S., with the Dubai World Cup highlighting the international stage at Meydan and the Japanese Road to the Kentucky Derby wrapping up at Nakayama. A field of 12 Derby hopefuls lock horn in the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby. Instant Coffee goes in search of a third consecutive graded stakes score and looks to cement his case as one of the top players in this year's Run for the Roses. Turfway's Jeff Ruby Stakes has also attracted a field of 12, with Spendthrift Farms' Major Dude, the 5-2 morning line favorite, over the Larry Ravelli-trained 2 Phils. On Sunday, 7 3-year-olds will hope to join the 2009 Kentucky Derby upsetter Mind That Bird as horses who used the Sunland Derby as a stepping stone to success on the first Saturday in May. And that's your Visit Barbados Racing Update, brought to you by Barbados Tourism. Learn more at visitbarbados.org.
If you've been waiting to discover that sweet spot where peace of mind meets the time of your life, then it sounds like you've been waiting on Barbados. You've been waiting to experience a meal that makes you book a flight to have it again. You've been waiting for adventure in the sun, from the majesty of horse racing and polo to the thrill of surfing our playful waves. From the moment you set foot on the island, you'll realize Barbados is exactly what you've been waiting for. Visit jetblue.com/Barbados for special vacation packages.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back, hour 2 of 3. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, my conversation with Bruce Lunsford talking about Art Collector in New Orleans later today, or those interviews from Dubai, Frankie Dettori, Simon Crisford, and Leandro Mora. You can go back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the podcast of this program and all of our shows at your leisure, including the Weekend Stakes Preview with Bobby Neuman and Dave Friedman. That show is posted as a podcast on our website right now and on every major podcast platform. So however you access your podcast, make sure you're listening and getting the latest up-to-date information on the races and on the industry with the Horse Racing Radio Network. The Louisiana Derby, the TwinSpires.com Louisiana Derby, is the big race at the fairgrounds today, but there are several major races on tap there today. It could be a huge race for trainer Cherie DeVaux as she goes in search of the first Grade 2 victory of her career. She's won a couple of Grade 3s. Now she's set her sights on the Grade 2 Louisiana Derby with Cagliostro, who is ultra talented. He'll look for his first Graded Stakes victory later today as well. And Cherie is with me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Cherie, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing very, very well, and really looking forward to Cagliostro strutting his stuff later today. Let's start with his last race. He comes up just a little bit short with Allowance Company, but I thought he ran huge.
Yeah, he ran really well, and that seems to be more greenness than it was anything else. Brian had commented he got to the lead and he just idled once he got up there, and just that's what cost him the victory. But he came out of that in great order and really moved forward in his training.
Is there anything as the trainer that you can do to try to correct that issue of him maybe just waiting on horses when he makes the lead?
We could put blinkers on him, but I just think he needs to mature. I don't think at this point, I'm not quick to make any equipment changes on him. Early on in his training, he was a lot worse about it in the morning, where he would be on and off the bridle and getting beaten, but then galloping out in front of his company. So I just think it's a maturity issue with him and not necessarily a needing to change anything, by adding blinkers. But in the morning, he's been, since he's come out of that race, really staying up against the bridle and staying with his company and galloping out in front of them.
Are those signs of maturity, Cherie?
Yes, and he's it's something I've commented on a few times. He's been a slow maturing horse mentally and physically. So it's one of those things where we're trying to let him mature and not in his own time, without having to push him to do too much too soon.
Is he a big horse?
He's a pretty decent size. It's taken him a while to fill into his frame. He'd been light this fall, so again, his physical maturity has matched his mental maturity, where it's just he's been sort of behind everyone else.
Well, he's 12-1 on the morning line, but you obviously have some faith in him to be able to enter him into a race like the Louisiana Derby. What is it that he's showing you that led you to make this decision to take a shot in this spot this afternoon?
Well, it was really his progression from his maiden win into that allowance race. We were not, the ownership group and myself, we didn't want to rush him into from a maiden win into a stakes race. And we wanted to see if he would make the jump forward when we put him facing winners, and he did. So, we're all trying to manage our expectations appropriately. That it's a big task for him, and as long as he runs well, if he runs first or second and gets the Derby points, that's great. But we're not going to be disappointed in the horse at all if that's not the outcome.
Cagliostro is going to have his fourth different rider in as many starts. Brian Hernandez is going to stick with Sun Thunder for trainer Ken McPeek, and I'll visit with Kenny later on in the program here. He'll join me at 9:40. But you go to Christian Torres. Tell me about making that decision.
So there's a lot going on this weekend to try to get a jockey to come in with the Jeff Ruby stake and racing in Dubai, and then Sunland Park as well offering a Derby prep. So I wanted to try to find somebody that I would be confident if he happened to get to the Derby that we wouldn't have to make another change, especially because he did have the propensity last race to hang a little bit once he got to the lead. I just wanted to try to find somebody that could stick with him if hopefully that's the case and he runs in the Derby. Christian is doing fantastic right now at Oaklawn. I've watched him ride. He rode a filly for us in Shotgun Hottie last week or 2 weeks ago and really rode her well. So, it's unknown because he doesn't know the horse, but I think Christian's doing great right now, and I was happy to have him come in to ride him.
Do you find that when you do have a new rider, and again, the fourth new rider in 4 starts, so you've had to kind of educate that rider every single time that they get aboard Cagliostro, do you find that you have to be more of a teacher in that respect and give them more information than you would a jockey that is consistently aboard a horse that you train?
Yeah, it is definitely an advantage if they've ridden a horse before.
Mm-hmm.
Javier had actually breezed him a bunch over the summer in Saratoga. And if you watch his maiden win, he did hit the lead and he cleared the field, but he was green in the stretch. He lugged in a little bit, just unsure. And again, we don't really know his habits until his last race. So the first race was just a race to get him started. And then, I'll just have to tell Christian that he got beat last time. And, Dennington ran a great race, so I don't want to take anything away from him. But, just tell him once he gets to the lead and he commits to making that run, he's just got to make sure that he sustains it.
Yeah, you get a rematch with Dennington. He's back in here for Ken McPeek. You also have to square off with the morning line favorite Instant Coffee and horses like Curly Jack from the Tom Amos barn, and I mentioned Sun Thunder. Cherie, I'm sure you've seen these horses, watched them train, or at least seen them on the racetrack many times throughout the meet so far. Size up the competition for me. I know you have to beat everybody, but this is a salty group.
It's definitely a salty group, and Instant Coffee's proven at the track. continues to train well since his last victory here. So, I really just try to handicap my own horse against them. And I know that we're training really well, and on speed figures, if he happens to run the same race or improves, and like he's shown in his training, he's improved, he should be right there.
Talking with trainer Cherie DeVaux here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Cagliostro going in that Grade 2 TwinSpires.com Louisiana Derby for Cherie later this afternoon. Let me go this direction with you for a minute, Cherie. If I'm not mistaken, you had spent a lot of time studying pre-med in college, but decided to give all that up and become a horse trainer. What on earth were you thinking?
I was young, and I wasn't thinking, and I really was just, I really just was wanting to be an exercise rider, to be honest. At the time, I was going to school, and I had moved from Florida to New York, and when I made it, that definitely changed the trajectory of my life. My family had moved from South Florida back up to the Saratoga area, and when I went up there, I was doing great in college in Florida, and I was focused and driven. And then when I went up to New York, I lost that, but I had also started working at the track. And I remember this really renowned geneticist telling me, you got to take these classes. I just want the easy ones. I'm going to finish my 4 years. And I had lost a year of credits transferring schools, and I wasn't really committed to it anymore. So I just, on a whim and a prayer, went off into the sunset, following the racehorses, and it's what my life is, and I'm glad it took that way. But I'm really thankful for the college that the 4 years that I did go to school.
Yeah. I mean, there will be a lot of people that would say, "Wait a minute, she was pre-med, and now she wants to get up every morning at 4:00 in the morning and go to the barn and not get any days off and 365 days a year." That's an interesting decision, but it's one that's paying off for you now. You learned from a couple good people in Chad Brown, and before that, Chuck Simon. When you look at your training style today, Cherie, and the way you get horses ready, you think it's a combination of both of those trainers, or have you developed your own style in some way?
Well, both. All experiences add into what I do. When I worked for Chuck, we had to maintain what we had. We had a small stable, and if a horse left, the horse left, and there wasn't generally another horse to come in. And then when I worked for Chad, it was different. Just we had a lot of horses, and I tell a lot of younger people who, men, women who want to come into the industry, the one thing that separates me from other people is I have a big bank of knowledge. I've just worked with so many horses, and you see what works, you see what doesn't work. So I draw from both. I've seen a lot of nice horses and great horses when I worked for Chad, but I've had a lot of experience in different aspects with Chuck. So I draw from both, and then try to use what works for myself as well.
I want to brag on you for just a minute, because you went out on your own in 2018. That year, you went 0 for 19, didn't win a single race, but you kept going. And the next year, you win 10. Then you win 12. Then 32 in 2021, 35 last year. This year, you've already won 14. You're on pace to win 56 races at this point, which would be your most ever. What's been the key to this continued growth?
You just have to have a positive attitude and a positive outlook. And I laugh when I tell people I went almost a full year from when I went out on my own to win one race. And I'd had people, other assistant trainers or trainers just say, and I had some just bad luck things happen. We had COVID. I had some horses early on that were nice that got hurt. And I remember one person saying, "Well, you're awfully positive for all the things that have happened to you." And I just looked at him and I said, "I'm just bound and determined to fake it until I make it." And, that's all it was, is I've got a great support staff. I have my husband, and, it just trying to keep the big picture in mind too. The first year I didn't have any horses per se to start off and no clients. So it was more of just building my business and getting a team together and clients. And then, it started rolling it slowly, not anything too fast. And we doubled each year, and that's where we're at today. But I just try to keep a positive attitude and a positive outlook, even when it was not so easy to do.
Was there a point when you were waiting that full year to win your first race after going out on your own that you thought maybe you had made the wrong decision?
I don't ever think I had a thought that I made the wrong decision. I just think that it's fair to say I questioned, what am I doing? And I'm really, I can't be grateful enough for David, who sat me down one day, and I wasn't easy to deal with, and I think he should earn his own Eclipse Award for keeping me from going off the deep end some days. And he just said, listen, let's just give it 3 years, and if you're not happy in 3 years, then, and this is not where you want to be, then we'll just, we'll do something else, or you can do something else, but be fair to yourself by giving it a couple years to develop. And right at the 3-year mark was when I had the thought he was right. It took 3 years to get to a place where I felt comfortable with how things were and where the business had grown.
And, of course, your husband is Lane's End bloodstock agent David Ingordo, who himself has had a ton of success in this game. And together, the two of you make a very good team. He's involved in the ownership of Cagliostro as well. So this could be a huge day for you as a married couple, too, as a husband and wife. So it could be massive. I want to wish you all the best there. And before I let you go, Cherie, I do have to ask you about Lady Eli, because when you were working with Chad, you were involved with Lady Eli and her return to racing after she had that serious foot injury. She's nominated to the Hall of Fame this year, and I can tell you she got my vote. Do you look at Lady Eli as a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, yes, I do, and I was actually reflecting on it, on the whole situation a couple days ago, and I would feel confident in saying that with the team that had been on board with her, with the podiatrist and the veterinary team, she had a great chance to make it, live, and have a good life as a broodmare. But for her to come back and overcome that and come back to racing, and not only come back as good, she moved forward and was better, just takes a really special animal to do. So she had every right to, just come back and not really move forward. And she had a tenacity in her and drive that made her move forward from such an incredible injury.
Yeah, I know you'll be cheering for her to get a plaque in Saratoga Springs. She certainly deserves it, in my opinion anyway. We'll see if the other voters agree, but we'll find out in April if Lady Eli is a Hall of Famer later this year. Cherie, listen, I really appreciate the visit. It's been great to catch up. All the best in the Louisiana Derby later today, and we'll look for you hopefully in the winner's circle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Cherie DeVaux here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, trying to get on the Derby trail with Cagliostro. If he can pull off an upset later today in that Louisiana Derby, she'll be doing it. He's 12-1 on the morning line. Don't know if you'll get 12-1. He might actually get bet down with the way he ran last time. Does get that rematch with Dennington, who is trained by Ken McPeek, one of two horses in the race for Kenny. Kenny's going to be with me coming up at 9:40 to talk about those two. He'll also talk about the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway and all the other horses he's running in stakes races later today. When I come back, though, Todd Fincher looks ahead to tomorrow's Sunland Park Derby. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Perennial leading consigner Eddie Woods is off to another fast start in 2023.
New grain takes to San Pasquale, but Hopkins is too strong, finishing up powerfully to win the Palos Verdes, and it's Newgate to score by about a head. Reincarnate to take the sham.
It's Rocket Can to win the Holy Bull.
Additional 2023 stakes winners include Occult, Lane Way, and Cherie, who took the Jumeirah Derby in Dubai. Find your next winner at the Eddie Woods consignment at OBS March. Visit eddywoods.com.
This Healthy Horse Tip is brought to you by Kessmark. Spring in Kentucky is beautiful, but allergies can prove to be a real challenge for horses. Pollens and air pathogens can irritate a horse's airway, especially those coming from climates where spring begins much earlier, such as Florida, Louisiana, and Arkansas. Horses coming from the high desert of the West Coast can also have difficulty handling Kentucky's prime allergy season. Mucus, while considered normal by some, is not normal and serves as an incubator for fungus, bacteria, and other pathogens that will make a home in the airway if given the opportunity. Keeping the immune system in order and providing your horse with a clean airway through preventive measures such as feeding on the ground, wetting hay, clean shavings, and nebulizing products can all aid in reducing allergies and keep the immune system healthier to address the important things the body needs, such as athletic recovery. For more healthy horse tips, visit Kessmark.com or follow them on Twitter at Kessmark_equine. That's KESMARC_equine.
Sam Houston Race Park's live thoroughbred meet runs through April 8th and features a new afternoon racing schedule for 2023 with racing Friday through Sunday and a first post at 1 p.m. Central. We're looking forward to March 25th, Texas Champions Day. Make it to Sam Houston Race Park as the best in Texas compete in 7 exciting stakes races. The 9-race card starts at 1 p.m. at Houston's Best Bet. Canadian racing fans are invited to play Sam Houston at simulcast outlets throughout Canada and on HPI Bet. For more information, visit shrp.com.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Scholarships are available. Visit rtip.arizona.edu.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And Runaway Ghost has dashed away in the Derby. Runaway Ghost make a break for home here, out by 2.5. Dream Baby Dream running on with 7 trumpets. All out Blitzer, New York Central are tired. Runaway Ghost well ahead. 4 in front. Down the outside. Dream Baby Dream is picking away. Runaway Ghost well ahead. Dream Baby Dream the only danger. But what a local support has come to fruition. What a win. Runaway Ghost has done it.
Runaway Ghost, the winner of the 2018 Sunland Derby for trainer Todd Fincher. He's looking to visit the winner's circle for that race again tomorrow with Henry Q. Very speedy, very talented. We'll see if he's up to the task in that Grade 3 event tomorrow. But Todd has, how about this, 14 horses entered on the program at Sunland Park tomorrow, and he's with me now to talk about Henry Q and to talk about Flying Connection going in the Sunland Park Oaks. It's a big day. Todd, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Good, good. I always appreciate the visit and appreciate you taking the time out there in New Mexico. Let's start with Henry Q. Boy, his last race was impressive.
Very impressive, yeah. I mean, it might not have been the strongest field, but he didn't barely beat him. He destroyed him. So I think added distance will probably help as well. So.
Yeah, and of course that race that he won last time out, the Mind That Bird Derby, Mind That Bird, the only horse ever to come from the Sunland Park Derby and win the Kentucky Derby, as we know. But Henry Q certainly looks like he has all the talent in the world. Were you thinking about this race before he ran in the Mind That Bird, or did you only start thinking about it after he won by 14?
No, that was the plan. Doug O'Neill sent me the horse, and pretty much had him prepared for the Mind That Bird, and I didn't know much about him. He ran a good race at Santa Anita the time before, but man, that added distance he just really relished. So, and I don't think that mile and 8's going to hurt him either. So he's got a big, nice stride, and the horse has been doing great. Really, actually, just keeps getting better. Looks great, doing great. So hopefully we'll get a good effort.
when Doug sent you the horse before that Mind That Bird Derby, did you have to do much with him or just keep him happy?
No, he was prepared already. He came in like on a Wednesday and supposed to run on Sunday, and then those races got canceled on Sunday, and we ran them on Tuesday because of the weather. And then, no, he didn't really say anything. He had the horse pretty much ready. I just kind of took over and stayed out of his way.
Well, you have to deal with some heavy hitters in Tim Yakteen, certainly, and hard to figure.
Fort Bragg's out.
Okay, Fort Bragg is out, so you don't have to deal with Tim Yakteen, so you don't have to worry about that. But you do have to deal with some others in here. Is there an advantage to being based at Sunland and already having run a race there?
I think it's always an advantage when you're sitting at your home turf, which is, the first time he run really wasn't his own turf, but he's been here over a month, and I think it's pretty well established. This is his ground, and he's got a great confidence boost from the last race, and he's very comfortable here. And you always worry about that if you're shipping in and a horse not really comfortable with their surroundings if you're going to get their best efforts. So I'm happy to have the home court advantage.
When he won last time, he went wire to wire and drew off to that 14-length win. Do you expect the same strategy tomorrow, or might you take him back a little bit?
You're going to have to leave that up to the jockey. If a couple of them fly away from there, and I mean, it would be silly to chase him. So I think he's rateable. He won the 7/8 at Santa Anita, coming up the rail from off the pace. So I think you just ride the horse and not the race.
I enjoyed listening to the call of Runaway Ghost winning the race in 2018. As you were listening to it, Todd, what was going through your mind?
Well, the whole time with him was trying to teach him to relax a little bit. He's always wanting to be a little aggressive, and that day he stepped away from the gate slow and was dead last. And he just sat back there, which was good, and when I'm sure when you're watching a horse and they're dead last and they're last, you don't know. You're thinking, well, he didn't fire today, something happened, or maybe he's going to. You just don't know what's going to happen. And then when he started making that move, I thought it was a little early and a little wide, but it got more exciting as the race went on, for sure.
There's no doubt about it. Talking with trainer Todd Fincher here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Let's talk about the Sunland Park Oaks. You'll send out Flying Connection in there, 9 to 5 on the morning line. Highly regarded. Another horse that won huge last time out.
Yeah, she's a really nice filly. She's got speed and stamina. Hopefully everything goes well there too, but she's lined up perfect for this race as well. So obviously more speed to sign on, so we'll see what happens. But we're also on the rail, so we're up to trying to get a trip.
Yeah. Todd, do you let yourself think ahead to the first Friday or the first Saturday in May with these horses, or is it just one race at a time at this point?
Oh, no. I've done that before, and that's a mistake. You just try to face a task in front of you, and you're always hoping for the big races. 20 years ago I was, so that's not going to stop. But for each horse, you just go race to race. If it lines up, it does. If it doesn't line up good, you're not going to win one of those big races. What's
the weather look like out there tomorrow?
It's going to be nice, like right around 70, low 70 maybe, and a little bit of breeze, maybe 10, 15 mile an hour, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Well, Todd, listen, I know you're busy. You're training horses, and you took time to join me this morning, which I really appreciate. All the best tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be talking before you get to Churchill Downs in early May. That would be really nice.
That would be awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Todd Fincher here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. He has had a lot of success in his career, and because of the fact that he's based in New Mexico, we don't often view Todd Fincher as an elite trainer necessarily. But you look at his resume, and he's won almost 1,400 races, 1,373 coming into today. He's already saddled 32 winners here in 2023. And he knows how to win a big race. Runaway Ghost, winner of the Sunland Derby in 2018. He won the ACAC, if you recall, with Senor Buscador last year. And he also took the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes with Slammed last year. So when he gets a good horse, he knows what to do with him. And I think he has a couple really good ones. And you heard him perk up a little bit when I asked him about Flying Connection. He was certainly excited about the Sunland Park Derby. When I asked him about Flying Connection, his voice went up an octave. And I always love to hear that from trainers. She is good. She's going to have to overcome the inside post. She's drawn post number 1 in the Sunland Park Oaks. But she looks ultra-talented, and she rarely has run a bad race, at least in her last 4. Once he got her going, her first 2 races weren't great when she debuted at Del Mar. But then she went to Zia and she went to Sunland, and she's become what looks to be a quality filly. And we'll see if the daughter of Nyquist can run a huge race, maybe punch her ticket to the Kentucky Oaks. And then, as you heard him talk about Henry Q, very fast, very speedy. Doug O'Neill had him prepared for that Mind That Bird Derby as he came into the barn of Todd Fincher. Now it's up to Todd to keep him going in the right direction, and I have no doubt he'll be able to do that. Hard to figure from the barn of Bob Baffert. Flavian Pratt's going to be in the irons there. Runner-up in the Grade 3, Robert B. Lewis, last time out, figures to be the main competition. But Henry Q, if he can clear, could be very, very dangerous in that Sunland Park Derby. Post time for that race tomorrow, 6:45 Eastern. That's 4:45 New Mexico time, and, of course, 3:45 for those of you who will be tuning in out on the West Coast. When I come back, it is time to visit with trainer Ken McPeek. He'll talk about the Louisiana Derby, the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and so many other big races on the docket later today. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
New to Coolmore America for 2023 is Jack Christopher. A son of top sire Munnings and a 3-time Grade 1 winner, Jack Christopher was an 8 3/4 length winner on debut at Saratoga at 2 before winning the Grade 1 Champagne with a whopping 102 buyer. His 3-year-old campaign included wins in the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile, the Grade 1 Woody Stevens by 10 lengths, and the Grade 1 H. Allen Jerkins. Jack Christopher stands at an introductory fee of $45,000. Call the team at Ashford today to book your mare before he fills up.
There's plenty of thrills at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet with live racing Wednesday through Sunday. Don't miss the Triple Crown prep races, including the Fountain of Youth Stakes on March 4th and the Florida Derby Saturday, April 1st. Enjoy the races outdoors from the Carousel Club, our Feast in 10 Palms, offering a premium view of the races. For stake schedules, reservations, tickets, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
But with Corey Lannery, First Mission has raced away to a 6-length lead from St. John's. Here it's a Godolphin 1-2. Then to the inside, Quaternion, followed by Pursuit of Power, who's running on. Then Earl of Dassel locked in. It's First Mission. First Mission won by 7 from St. John's.
First Mission, the son of Darley Stallion Street Sense, was made a TDN rising star after that maiden victory on Saturday at Fairgrounds. His easy 6 3/4 length win stamps him as a major player in this year's 3-year-old division and makes him your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Street Sense, the sire of 3 Grade 1 winning sons to retire to stud in the last 3 years, including current Darley Stallions, Maxfield, and Speaker's Corner. Learn more about Street Sense and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Top of the home stretch of the Jeff Ruby. And Tiz the Bomb forging to the front. Tawny poured under a full-out drive to the inside in second. Up the inside, still fighting on Dowajack Chief. Late on the scene, down the center comes Opti Go-Go. 1:16 to go. Tiz the Bomb is still there. Tiz the Bomb indeed. Winch wrapped up the end by almost 2.5. Tawny Port was second. The running time for Tiz the Bomb, 1:48.3. And Tiz the Bomb, a perfect 2 for 2 on the synthetic as he sizzles in the Ruby. A 5-star performance from Tiz the Bomb for Brian Hernandez, Magdalena Racing, and Kenny McPeek.
Tiz the Bomb giving Kenny a victory in the Jeff Ruby Stakes last year, going on to the Run for the Roses. The Muniz Memorial Classic is where we'll find Tiz the Bomb later today. That Grade 2 event scheduled as race number 10 on a very deep program at the fairgrounds. Louisiana Derby Day, huge day of racing. I'm going to talk to trainer Ken McPeek about Tiz the Bomb and about Sun Thunder and Dennington, his 2 entrants in the Louisiana Derby, coming up in just a few minutes. I'll also ask him about Rattle and Roll, who goes in the New Orleans Classic, which is the 9th race on the program today. That conversation coming up momentarily. But first, it is time for your Kentucky Bred Update. And remember that you can reap the rewards of breeding and racing here in the state of Kentucky. Combined purse money paid out an all-time high of more than $165 million in 2022, following a previous benchmark of more than $134 million set in 2021. Average field size in Kentucky is 8.4. That's higher than Florida, which is 8.0. New York, 7.4, and California at 7. Average purse per race in Kentucky, $77,126. How about that? That outpaces all other leading racing jurisdictions, including Arkansas, New York, California, and Florida. Additionally, over $200 million has been distributed to Kentucky breeders since 2006, and with purse money soaring, and thanks to the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Fund, some of the fullest fields in the country with quality racing year-round, there is no better time to breed and race in the bluegrass. For more information, visit KentuckyBreds.com. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win. Yeah, get that information at KentuckyBreds.com. How about those purses? Unbelievable. I believe Turfway maiden races now are like $70,000. Turfway. It's a good time to be racing here in the state of Kentucky. All right, poll question today. I asked you, with the focus being on the Kentucky Derby horses, and I think rightfully so, but sometimes the ladies, well, I think oftentimes the ladies get lost in the shuffle. So my poll question today, who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks? Let me know your thoughts at HRRN on Twitter. Horse Racing Radio Network is our Facebook page. You can chime in there. And if you don't do social media, email me, mike@horseracingradio.net. You can always get in touch with the show there. And let me know who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now. If you take a look at the standings, the point standings for the top fillies, Wet Paint, the winner of the Grade 3 Honeybee at Oaklawn, is at the top of the list. Pretty Mischievous, who we'll see in the Grade 2 Fairgrounds Oaks later today, is in second. Dorth Vader, winner of the Devona Dale at Gulfstream, third. In fourth is Mimi Kikuchi, the UAE Oaks winner back in February. And Sheeta Beauty, winner of the Busher at Aqueduct, is in fifth. Champion Wonder Wheel sits in sixth. And Hoosier Philly, who is also squaring off with Pretty Mischievous in today's Fairground Oaks, is currently in the 9th position. So who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks? For me, it's Pretty Mischievous. It's Hoosier Philly. I think if either one of those two ends up winning that Fairgrounds Oaks today, they are your favorite for the Kentucky Oaks. My third would be Wonder Wheel. I think Wonder Wheel can rebound. Both Hoosier Philly and Wonder Wheel disappointed in their 3-year-old debuts. I think they can both rebound. Remember, it was only, a month ago that we were talking about the potential of Hoosier Philly running against the boys on the first Saturday in May and not the girls on the first Friday in May. Well, those plans went out the window when she stumbled at the start and didn't run her race last time out. But if Hoosier Philly rebounds for Tom Amoss today and she wins that race, she's going to be the favorite. At least in my opinion, she'll be the favorite for the Kentucky Oaks. I think that race today produces the favorite if indeed it's Pretty Mischievous or Hoosier Philly that wins. But let me know your thoughts. Again, the girls kind of get overlooked at this time of year. All the attention placed on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Who are your top 3 fillies right now on the road to the Kentucky Oaks? Let me know your thoughts at HRN on Twitter, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and get in touch with me that way. Ken McPeek set to join us in just about 1 minute from right now. He is getting ready to saddle several horses at the fairgrounds and at Turfway Park later today. Kenny's entrance, Rattle and Roll in the New Orleans Classic, Tis the Bomb in the Muniz Memorial Classic, Sun Thunder and Dennington in the Louisiana Derby. At Turfway, he has Escapologist in the Jeff Ruby Stakes and Camp Hope in the TwinSpires Kentucky Cup Classic. He also has Rarefied Flair in the Rushaway Stakes and Grand Avenue Girl in the Latonia. Those are just his stakes races. He's also going to have a lot of maiden special weight horses running, a lot of allowance horses running today. So Ken McPeek and his team are going to be very busy. So I appreciate his visit coming up momentarily. We'll get a chance to talk to him here in just a minute. And Lee, I just got a text message from Mr. McPeek. He's ready to roll. So we'll get him on the line and bring you that interview coming up here momentarily. If you missed any portion of this show, my conversation with Bruce Lunsford in the first hour of the program, talking about art collector Cherie DeVaux just a short time ago, or Todd Fincher in the last segment, you know what to do. Head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast of this program at your leisure. You can also do that on every major podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcast or Google or Podbean, Spotify. Just type in Horse Racing Radio Network and listen at your leisure. And, of course, you can listen to all of our shows there, not just the Equine Forum. Ken McPeek is indeed with me. Again, a very busy day for him. He has horses in big races all over the place. Kenny, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be in the spotlight, isn't it?
Well, you hope you're in the spotlight Sunday morning, actually.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was just walking through all of the horses you're going to saddle in stakes today, and that doesn't include the maidens and the allowance horses you're going to run. It's a busy day for your entire team.
That's the most horses I've ever run in a day in my career. Kind of where the ball bounced. It was a little unusual, but we're excited. A lot of the horses are coming into the race as well, and fingers crossed all goes smooth. We got a few we're going to take out, though.
Oh, you do? Okay. Any coming out of the stakes?
No.
Okay. Well, let's start with the Jeff Ruby Stakes, because a short time ago, before I introduced you, we heard the call of Tis the Bomb winning the race last year. This year it's Escapologist who goes in the Jeff Ruby. Tell me about Escapologist.
You know, he's an outside chance. I mean, this horse, we liked his last race. He seems to be moving forward, and we wanted to try him at 1 1/8, and I want to try him on the synthetic. So there's zero expectations of him other than we want him to come running late. And sometimes these races, I mean, it's a lot of money even to run second, third, fourth, and we feel like the timing's right for him. But he's going to have to step up his game. He's going to have to find, 7-8 lengths improvement off his previous efforts. And like I said, zero expectations, and in some senses, just giving him a shot at a high level before we, get realistic.
You've won so many big races over your careers, and I've had Wayne Lucas and Nick Zito and other trainers tell me you got to take your shots at some point. You got to see if horses belong, right? This is obviously a shot that you're taking. Do you agree with that at some point you got to see if the horse can run at that level?
Yeah, for sure. He seems to always run well, but he hadn't got over the top. But his last race, he seemed to kind of figure it out. But I was second in this race a few years ago with a horse named Blue Ridge Traveler with a a similar setup. He went off really long, and he came flying late to pick up a big check. And it's not chopped liver to be second or third in this race. So it'll be interesting. It looks like Wesley's got the speed of the race, and it should set up for a closer, but you never know.
How about Camp Hope in the 10th race today, the TwinSpires Kentucky Cup Classic?
He was a really solid horse. He was off for extended period for a little distal bone bruising, but he has come back really good. I loved his last race, and then we expect him to improve off that last start. This is a pretty wide open race from what I can tell, and Chris Landero seems to have figured this colt out in his first ride on him, and we're optimistic with him. He should run big.
Yeah, he's coming into the race in pretty good form, too. You also have Grand Avenue Girl going in the Latonia, and then Rarefied Flair in the Rushaway Stakes. Tell me about those two horses.
Well, Grand Avenue Girl ran a bang-up last time. Her win at Turfway last month was probably her best career race, and she's going to have to find that today to win. But I like the inside draw, and we'll let her hopefully repeat performance and a little bit of improvement. It's a ideal timing, ideal spot. And then Rarefied Flair's coming off a layoff from last fall, but he's doing well. And if and that race came up actually kind of tough. Some years you get a lighter, maybe it looks more like an allowance race, but he's going to probably need to run, and I expect him to come back in probably 3 weeks in an allowance race at Keeneland. We'll see. Maybe he'll get lucky and pick up the big purse, but expect a good run out of him.
I want to go back to something you said when talking about Grand Avenue Girl. You said you like the inside draw. She'll break from post one. You don't hear trainers say that very often, Kenny. They don't like having the rail. Why do you like it for her?
Well, she went to the lead last time and stole off. She's fast, and she's going to probably. I mean, if she would have drawn outside, you would have had to have wiggled her in from the outside. But she can basically run, straight to the first turn from that inside as long as she gets away good. And she's hard to catch if things go her way. And I'm not sure what other speed horses might entertain her early, but we know where she'll be.
No, it's that kind of knowledge that has Ken McPeek winning 1,918 races so far in his career, closing in on 2,000. Do you think about milestones when you start getting close to him, Kenny?
A little bit. You just kind of chip away and try to focus in on each horse. And I've got a fantastic group of guys and girls out there that are working hard helping us. And there's so many details to hit. Even when you hit big numbers like that, you don't have much time to dwell on them. You still got a lot of work to do the next day. So we're going to keep focused, and we're spot on for a really big year again. And I'm excited for my clients and my staff and myself, and fingers crossed, a lot of things bounce our way.
Yeah, you started off very quickly here in 2023, 17 wins already, and again, looking to add to that total with the most horses Ken McPeek has ever saddled in one day. That's a big statement, Kenny, because you've been doing this at a high level for a very long time, and to be in this position today with so many horses, and to have you say that's the first time you've ever had this many, that's pretty incredible.
Well, we've had some 2-year-old days at Churchill where we ran 10 or 12, but this one tops it. So, and we changed up our program this year. We had been historically going to Gulfstream, and I think logistically it's worked out a lot better with us being at Oaklawn and Fairgrounds because I can rotate horses between the two, and then we've kept a solid little contingent at Turfway and in the Kentucky area. So it gives us a chance to move horses around a bit, and I think the way this came together is kind of a reflection of that. When we had all of them in South Florida, it's a little more difficult to get them back from there because it's a little further away. But, it seems like it's gone well, this particular setup.
Talking with trainer Ken McPeek here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Kenny, let's talk about the 4 horses you're going to run in the stakes down in New Orleans today. Rattle and Roll kicks it off for you. 10-1 on the morning line in the New Orleans Classic. This is a horse that people are very familiar with from the rode to the Kentucky Derby a year ago. He's a really nice horse. Tell me a little bit more about him.
Well, he's trained like a monster into his 4-year-old year, and we're optimistic that he can take his 2- and 3-year-old form and turn it into a 4-year-old form. I mean, I think we hooked. Of course, he's out of conditions, so you don't have any allowance races to be able to float him into to get him going. But this is awful deep water off the shelf. If I could think if he's 4th or better and he's running late, I think I'll be pleased. I don't think fitness is going to be an issue whatsoever. It's more of how this race sets up, and he tends to be a horse that needs a little bit of a setup for himself. But I think it'd be thrilling if he were to win off the layoff. But I think it's a bit of work to do, and we're kind of scheduling out a next and next spot after this one already.
Doesn't it seem like he's a horse with just loads of talent, and when he doesn't run his race, it can be a little frustrating, I imagine, right?
Well, no, he always runs his race. I think last year, early in the season, we tested him against the top 3-year-olds in the nation, and he was just a notch below those. And then we took what I'd call maybe a sideways route, and we spotted him in some really good spots. He came up the American Derby at Churchill was a good spot. He probably should have won the Indiana Derby. He got bugged leaving the gate, and they ran him back quick there. But he was as good as ever, and his race in the St. Louis Derby was big, and he's been a blast for the Mackin family. And and then he didn't run well in Breeders' Cup, but it was a distance that he wasn't familiar with. But I think it's a matter of where we spot him during the season, and if he can go to another, the Grade 1 level. But in the meantime, we'll probably start here, and then I suspect you'll see him in the Ben Ally at Keeneland late in the April meet.
Well, last year's Jeff Ruby Stakes winner, Tiz the Bomb, is going to go in the Muniz Memorial Classic today. What are you seeing from him?
Well, I think the last race is a bit of a throwout. He'd been on a long layoff. He drew inside, and it was real boggy down inside. And that last race played more like a 1 3/16 off a layoff, and he just wasn't quite fit enough, and he didn't handle the soft ground inside. And as most everybody knows, the turf course has been a little dicey there at the fairgrounds. But he's drawn outside this time, so he should get firmer ground. And we've had fair enough weather around here that I think the turf course will be good today. And he'll run a much improved performance today than the last race. I suspect he'll be part of the action late. And last time he just got tired.
Well, 2 more horses to talk about, and those are the horses that are going to try to get you back to the Kentucky Derby this year. Sun Thunder in the Louisiana Derby, and Dennington in that same race. Sun Thunder, probably the more accomplished of the 2. Tell me about him.
Well, a big, strong horse, and fast, too. He's a bit of a rhythm horse. You got to kind of time his run. But Brian knows him really well, and I think he's going to add, like the added 3/16 on the 1 3/16 distance. So I think the further he goes, the better. And he might need a little bit of a setup where the pace softens a bit, but he's coming in the race super. And him and Dennington have been workmates through the whole winter, or in many cases. They actually started off at Oaklawn, and I thought a shot down here at the fairgrounds would be good for both. And I hate to run them against each other, but I think the timing and the surface and the distance fell right in line with what was best for both horses. And Dennington's his last race was what we're looking for. He showed a little killer instinct late, and he's going to need to do that today as well. But he's got a little more ground to do it, and I'd be thrilled if either horse won this race or runs well, of course.
Is there something you can do when you have a horse like Sun Thunder that doesn't have a lot of early speed, and you said you have to kind of time out his run? Can you do something as the trainer in the mornings to try to put more speed into him so he's closer up?
No, I'm not going to try to do that with him. Well, I mean, I know him, and from the beginning, he's been a horse that we've focused in on trying to teach him to run the last 3/8 or quarter of a mile, and he's a bit of a big lumbering colt, but when he turns it over, he can really run. And we spent a lot of time doing that. Brian's been a big part of teaching him how to run, and he, like I said, fit him in the last spot. He knows what to do with him today, and it'll be. We're going to try to keep consistency with his running style, and I think that'll make him a better horse in the long run. I think you'll see him later in the season. He's a really solid horse.
Yeah, maybe you can emulate your 2002 Louisiana Derby winner, Repent. That would be okay too, wouldn't it?
Sure, of course.
Kenny, listen, I know you got a lot of things to get to. I won't keep you, but I really do appreciate the time as always, and good luck today, man. Let's go win several.
All right, thanks.
All right, Kenny McPeek here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. When I come back, I'll get you ready for hour number 3 and take a quick look at some historical dates in racing history. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
I'm William Shatner. I've been around a long time, but I'm truly humbled when I see the real battles our brave, paralyzed veterans have faced defending our freedom. And when they come home.
I had just come home from serving over in Germany. Next thing I know, it was 3 weeks later. I was paralyzed.
While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed for the rest of my life.
I was on a routine patrol, and we were in the desert of Kuwait, and the vehicle flipped and landed on top of me, which left me paralyzed from the waist down.
Okay, folks, this is heroism. That's why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America, because they've kept their promise to never leave a fallen soldier behind. A roof over their heads, accessible homes, cars, jobs, benefits.
PVA has brought me back to life.
Show them their sacrifice hasn't been in vain. Go to PVA.org to learn how you can make a difference.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with a crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment. Email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Busy third hour of the show coming up. I'll tell you more about that momentarily, but I do want to take a quick look at some historical dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend, and in particular the last couple of days. Nothing really pertaining to today, March 25th, but yesterday, March 24th, 1940, 83 years ago, future Triple Crown winner Count Fleet was foaled at Stoner Creek Stud in Paris, Kentucky. Tomorrow, March 26th, 1943, the 80-year anniversary of future Triple Crown winner Assault being foaled at King Ranch in Kingsville, Texas. And one more for you, March 26th, 1966. Happy anniversary to jockey Eddie Maple tomorrow, who won his first career race at Ascot Park in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Those are historical dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend. Again, a very busy third hour of the show coming up. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the program, Bruce Lunsford was here, Cherie DeVaux, Todd Fincher, Ken McPeek. Head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, and check out the podcast at your leisure. And don't forget to keep the responses coming to our poll question, talking about the Kentucky Oaks. Who are your top 3 fillies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks right now? Yeah, talking about the ladies with that poll question this morning. Let us know on our social media pages. 2 hours down, 1 to go. When I come back, Scott Shapiro will be with us for the TwinSpires Triple Play. He'll give you 3 races you can keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker will take you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. And at 10:30, Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin will both be back with me to debate some of the sport's hottest topics in this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. All of that still ahead. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to the third hour of the show. Sirius 216, XM 204, affiliates in Louisville, Kentucky, and around the country, and of course streaming worldwide at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum is coming up next right after I pause. 10 seconds for station identification. This is HRRN.
From the rail to your radio, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network.
That is Minor Bird now coming on to take the lead as they come down to the finish in a spectacular upset. Minor Bird has won the Kentucky Derby. An impossible result here. Final furlong, Mandaloon fighting for the front. Medina Spirit battles on. Hot Rod Charlie on the outside. Essential Quality on the far outside. The 4 of them coming to the finish in the Kentucky Derby. Here's the wire. Bob Baffert does it again. Medina Spirit has won the Kentucky Derby.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Into the final 250. Summer is tomorrow by 2. Crown Pride is all out in second. Ben Duga's third. Then comes Island Falcon. Here's Crown Pride getting to grips, getting the better of Summer is tomorrow, whose runner's race is Japan again. It's Crown Pride in the UAE Derby. The land of the rising sun is having a night to remember. We're coming down to the wire. At the center's ended. Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness. The longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Equine Forum, right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, continuing on with you here this morning. Very busy morning, as always, here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. And you heard several clips in that montage, several race calls. The prep races taking place today, the Derby points races, haven't had the biggest impact necessarily in terms of number of Derby winners that we've seen over the years, but they've certainly played a role in the history and the lore and the legend of the Kentucky Derby, as you just heard. And we'll see if this year's runners come out of these races and have an impact on the first Saturday in May. If you're just joining me, go back and check out the podcast of the first 2 hours of the show and the entire show after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can do that at horseracingradio.net. You can do it on every major podcast platform. You missed a lot of conversation about the Dubai races. You missed my conversations talking about the Louisiana Derby and the Jeff Ruby Stakes and the UAE Derby and then the Sunland Park Derby coming up tomorrow. All of that was part of the first 2 hours of the show. So get yourself ready to play the races later today by going back and checking out the podcast after we wrap things up at 11 a.m. Eastern. You'll also want to go back and listen to the TwinSpires Triple Play with Scott Shapiro. That comes up momentarily here on the show. And then Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20, and Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin set to be back with me at 10:30 Eastern for I Ask, They Answer. But it is time to kick off Hour 3 with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Well, Scott, you have a few races that folks will want to keep an eye on later today, and they can go to twinspires.com to do it. You've selected race 7 at the Fairgrounds, race 11, which is the Fairgrounds Oaks, and then the Louisiana Derby coming up as race number 12. What a day of racing at Fairgrounds.
Showing you quite the extravaganza. 15 races. We'll be racing from early, I guess, late morning till long into the night. But big weekend here at Fairgrounds, of course, also big week at Turfway Park. So a lot going on for the Churchill Downs tracks, and super excited for the card today.
Yeah. How about this? First post, 1 o'clock Eastern. That is noon local time in Louisiana. And then you wrap things up in that 15th race that you just mentioned, 8:05 Eastern, 7:05 Central. My goodness.
Marathon. This is like the jumps races at Cheltenham last week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you've kicked things off with your 3 selections this week with the 7th race, as I mentioned a few moments ago. That's a 1 1/16 maiden race. It is for the 3-year-old fillies. The fillies that maybe are just a bit slower to come around or develop or don't have the experience of the fillies we'll see later in the Fairgrounds Oaks. This is a really contentious race.
It really is. A lot of horses, like you said, that haven't really gotten enough opportunities, or for the most part, a lot of them getting a little bit of a late start to kind of make a run at the Kentucky Oaks and, the Black-Eyed Susan, et cetera. But it's a really good group here. Some pricey purchases, a little bit of everything here. But I thought there was a chance to spring an upset.
Well, and that's kind of going to be your theme over the next couple of races, I think, from what you were kind of teasing me with earlier in the day. So let's take a shot at this one. Who wins this one?
Well, I like number 10, New Beat. This is a second-time starter for trainer Norm Cassie, daughter of Not This Time, debuted back on the Risen Star undercard. Took a little bit of money that day. Merlaza was a heavy favorite, so the 11.5 to 1 price was probably a little bit lower than you might think just on a quick glance, keeping that in mind. And nothing really went right for this filly on debut. Was between rivals early, which is a trip I really dislike for first-time starters, really anybody for the most part, but particularly young horses. You want them to have a comfortable voyage, a comfortable experience, and that wasn't the case. And then maybe this one was backing up a little bit already, but a major stumble, and you could basically put a line through the last part of the race, losing by 23 lengths, finishing last. Really insignificant here. Now stretches out to 2 turns, Mike. You get Luis Saez. I think this horse will break a heck of a lot better in here. It's tough to kind of predict the pace in these races with a lot of lightly raced runners, but based on the past performances we have, maybe not that much speed signed on in here. So I'm hoping New Beat can get out of the gate better from the outside, control the early tempo, or at least be prominent and get to the wire first.
Yeah, big price at 15 to 1, so certainly worth the risk, if you will, of her bouncing back on the stretch out and going around 2 turns. There are handicappers, Scott, that will look at maiden races like this, and they'll see a horse like New Beat with just the 1 sprint effort under her belt, now stretching out and going 2 turns, and they'll say, maybe not enough foundation. I like to see at least 2 sprints. That doesn't seem to bother you in this instance.
No, it really doesn't. I think if Norm, a very good trainer, he's 21%. He's having a phenomenal Oaklawn meet, by the way, this winter. But just in general, I think Norm does a fantastic job. And he would sprint this horse if he didn't think she was ready to go 2 turns. I think they've been pretty high on her from the get-go here. So I think, this is a good opportunity to let this horse kind of get out of the gate and settle a lot more than she did. They went 21-3 in that debut effort. They're not going to go 21, or at least they hope they don't if she's on the lead. But I'm not too worried about not having the foundation because we're going to get the right price for sure.
One of the horses that is going to take money in here, 4 to 1. Now, think about this. I always kind of allude to it as a Breeders' Cup type of betting race, right? When you have a big field like this and a 4 to 1 morning line favorite, because there are going to be plenty of horses offering value as your top pick does. But number 6, Sweet Chablis, is 4 to 1 for Brett Calhoun. Second start off the layoff, her second start of her 3-year-old campaign. Why don't you like her?
Well, I mean, I just think in a spot like this, a lot of times with these younger, lightly raced horses, I'll kind of maybe look to a horse that I think has a little more upside. Not to say this daughter of Malibu Moon can't take a step forward, and then there might be a lack of pace, like I mentioned in here, and this horse has shown some early speed. But she made the lead last time out, comparative. The horse that beat her had struggled to win races and burn a lot of money, and she was really no match for her in the lane. So I don't, overly dislike this horse, but I like to look to some horses that have a little bit more upside than the horses maybe we've seen 3 or 4 times already in a race like this.
Other horses that will take money, number 8, Dial Her Up, again, making her second career start, much like New Beat, your top pick. And number 11, Freedom for All, first-time starter from the barn of trainer Kenny McPeek. What can you tell me about those two horses?
Well, Kenny McPeek is a trainer that is capable with first-time starters, but generally a guy that, especially when he legs up at Brian Hernandez Jr., Corey Lannery, his regular riders, really was most concerned about getting a good experience. And that oftentimes meaning letting a horse settle, not asking too aggressively out of the gate, and just hoping to get a good finish and a good gallop out. And while this Daughter of American Freedom did cost a pretty penny, considering American Freedom stands for just $3,500, she sold for $90,000. I expect her to maybe be a legitimate filly, but probably need the race. He's just 7% with first-time starters. And then you mentioned the 8 dialer up. This horse was entered for $50,000. Now, on a normal card, I don't necessarily hold that against a horse for running well and in for a tag and then getting moved up. But these are such loaded cards with these maiden races. A lot of these connections wait, a month to get to their horses back because they run these races on the big days, and then not necessarily in the book, with the same purses. So I just thought it was a significant class hike here for a horse that wasn't even the favorite in a 7-horse field against 50,000 claimers.
Okay, that's race number 7 at the fairgrounds. Scott Shapiro going to go with number 10, New Beat, 15-1 to kick off this week's TwinSpires triple play. Let's move on to race number 11, which is the race preceding the Louisiana Derby, and this one doesn't take a back seat to any race on that card. It is really good and loaded with quality. It is the Fairgrounds Oaks, a Grade 2, mile and a 16th on the main track. How'd you see this one?
Well, I think 3 horses are going to take the lion's share of the money. Pretty Mischievous, who's 4 for 5, comes off 2 straight wins in prep races over this track, including the win in the Rachel Alexandra, bringing the upset. I really think she's the likeliest winner in this spot, and have respect for her, but haven't been overly wowed by her. So her price may be something that I would, think will be a little shorter than I'd be willing to take. The same can be said for the Alice look, the Brad Cox runner. This horse kind of took a back seat in terms of what their expectations were to barnmate Chop Chop, but Chop Chop is underwhelmed, and this 3-year-old filly beat her in the Silver Bullet Day, albeit Chop Chop was coming off the bench that day, and the Alice look had some races under her belt, but she's legitimate, maybe just a slight touch below the top in her division at this point. We're going to find out, but again, another horse that I think will be a little shorter than I'd like. And then who's your filly, who's second on the morning line, but I expect to go off favorite again. This horse has been favored in all 4 of her starts. She obviously disappointed big time in the Rachel Alexandra when there was buzz about Tom Amos and the connections, looking to maybe run in the Louisiana Derby if things went well that day. I know you can make many excuses for her in that race. She stumbled right after the start. She was in tight. The pace wasn't fast. All of those are legitimate excuses not to win the race. But she was just completely flat in the lane, and I just didn't really love what I saw that day. And, if she's going to be 4 or 5-1, then you can kind of make excuses. But like I said, I expect her to go off favored. So I'm going to look to number 1, South Lawn Mike, a wild card in here, second off the bench, took a big step forward in the first start on the day before the Risen Star, had a surgery to help with her breathing prior to that. So I think that explains a little bit of the move forward. And I just think she's sitting on go here under Ray Gutierrez and Norm Cassie.
Yeah, 8-1 on the morning line. You'll get value there. Inside post, no problem?
I don't think so. I mean, she came up the inside with a very bold move in that return race last time. She wasn't right up and on the lead, but she was kind of right in that next tier. And Ray made an aggressive move, one that usually we would think we'd be yelling, us gamblers would be yelling at the screen, why are you moving so early, but she just sustained the run. And this is a definite class test, but going into that race, there were several fillies in there that I thought had some upside, and she easily disposed of them. So I think we're going to get probably more like 4 or 5-1, but I think she could be on the lead if the race plays out that way. I think more than likely, though, it'll be Christian D'Oro being sent first start for Steve Asmussen, and we'll have to kind of sit another pocket trip.
All right, visiting with Scott Shapiro, TwinSpires Fairgrounds handicapper and Norm Cassie's agent here this morning. You're all over the Norm Cassie horses, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go well. I know Norm pretty well, and we'll go down together later on today, Norm. Hopefully we can do some celebrating afterwards.
Yeah, well, South Lawn's an interesting pick in there because you alluded to all of the firepower that's in there and the big name. I think when you look at the Fairgrounds Oaks, it's not a stretch to say that the favorite for the Kentucky Oaks is likely to come out of this 5-horse field.
I think that might be the case. It's been a really tricky Oaks prep season because I thought there was a lot of potential star power coming into the year, and none of them have really delivered. Hoosier Philly amongst them. But Pretty Mischievous has kind of slid under the radar and been a little bit, I think losing to Hoosier Philly in the Goldenrod took a little bit of the steam out of the public respecting this horse because she was hammered in her first 2 starts at Churchill last year, and Brendan Walsh, the trainer, has always been very high. But, I think if Pretty Mischievous wins, she's got to take a step forward. She's got a big chance to be the favorite, and definitely if Hoosier Philly bounces back, she's going to be the favorite.
Yep, I would agree 100%. So it is going to be number 1 South Lawn, an upset pick for Scott in race 11, the Fairgrounds Oaks, 8-1 on the morning line. The next race is the big one, the Louisiana Derby. And I won't give away your I almost did it. I almost slipped up because you kind of hinted earlier as to who you were going to go with. But I'm not going to steal your thunder. Who wins the TwinSpires.com Louisiana Derby?
Well, I'm hoping it's Cagliostro, who I think is 12-1 on the morning line. But over the last couple of days, I continue to run into people that like this horse. So we might be looking at more like 6 to 8-1 type. But always been keeping an eye on this Florida bred. Was purchased for $385,000 at the OBS April sale last year by some shrewd folks. Cherie DeVaux has this horse, debuted at Saratoga, took a lot of money into the teeth of Champion's Dream, who won that day for Pletcher, stalked early and tired late, and then was given some time. And just have really been following this horse. Came back on January 21st on the LeCompte undercard, and everything went wrong for a young horse that day. Was green, didn't get out of gates well, was wide on the backstretch, and absolutely still dominated that field and was hammered at the windows. Went off at 3-5. It wasn't even close to that on the morning line. And then much more professional in the Risen Star undercard allowance event won by Dennington, where I thought Cagliostro was clearly better than Dennington, who just got the perfect trip that day. Not to take anything away from the Kenny McPeek trainee, but this horse was much closer to the pace, broke well from the inside, relaxed along the rail a little bit, backed off a little and made a run, looked like he was going to win. Third start of the form cycle now, Mike. I think he's got the tactical speed to sit where we want to. A lot of these Derby prep races thus far have been won by horses from well off the pace. There's been a number of collapses, and it's kind of led to potentially some fields maybe where we don't see a lot of speed on paper in these final preps. So I don't want to be, gambling on horses that I think will be too far out of it. I think Cagliostro will be in that second tier, and I think he's got a big chance to stamp himself as a legitimate Kentucky Derby horse. Hopefully he can get to the wire first.
Yeah, Cagliostro must be highly regarded because it was on February 18th that he last ran, and that was the day that your colleague, Joe Christofek, joined me for this same segment, and he picked Cagliostro that day. Cagliostro ended up being second by a neck. That was the day that Joe went 2 for 3. He had Angel of Empire upsetting the Risen Star on that same program. Maybe Cagliostro gets the money later today in the Louisiana Derby, and that would be the top pick from Scott Shapiro. And you can go to TwinSpires.com to bet all of these selections that he's giving you on the TwinSpires triple play this morning. Give me another horse or two that folks can look at and use with Cagliostro in here.
Cool. Instant Coffee is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Clearly going to be the prohibitive favorite, one would suspect. Hasn't raced since the LeCompte, so he comes in fresh for Brad Cox, who's got 3 in this spot. A little bit concerned about the lack of speed, but that's really the only knock I can have on this Bolt d'Oro colt because he's rattled off 3 or 4 victories, and the loss was in the Breeders' Futurity where he finished 4th to Forte and Loggins and Red Route 1, who all ran really big that day. Definitely have to use him. I think Kings Barnes is a use, a little bit of a wild card shipping in from Florida for Todd Pletcher. Likely to be the second choice, in my opinion, and likely to be prominent early in a race that, like we said, doesn't have a lot of speed. Big step up in class, though, from the race that he comes out of at Tampa. So maybe going to get a little bit over bet. And then the other wild card I would use is number 5, Disarm. Tells me a lot that Steve Asmussen sends this horse to the Louisiana Derby at 1 mile and 3/16. He's only raced once at 2 turns, and that was a short stretch mile at Oaklawn on February 19th when he was beaten soundly by a legitimate horse in 2 Eagles River. I just get the sense, I know they've always liked this horse, and I just don't think Steve would throw him to the wolves basically in this spot if he didn't think he deserved a shot to get into the Kentucky Derby and a shot at this $1 million purse. So I'm not going to let Disarm beat me at what I expect to be probably similar price to what Cagliostro goes off.
Scott, fantastic analysis of those 3 races. I'll recap quickly while I have you on the line here. In race 7 at the Fairgrounds today, you'll go with number 10, New Beat, at 15-1. Race 11, number 1 South Lawn to pull off the 8-1 morning line upset. And in race 12, the Louisiana Derby, number 7 Cagliostro at 12-1 on the morning line. Three value plays, and folks can play them any way they want to play them, and we encourage them to do that at TwinSpires.com, which I'm sure is going to have plenty of special offers later today.
Yeah, a lot of good offers, a couple of pick 5 hit it and split it's, both the Big Bayou Bluegrass pick 5 as well as the All Stakes pick 5 at Fairgrounds, $5,000 extra up for grabs. Plenty of other good stuff on the offers tab, and yeah, this should be a really fun day. Really looking forward to it, Mike, and always great chatting with you.
Yeah, enjoy the day, Scott. Good luck at the windows, and we will definitely be talking again soon.
Sounds good, sir. You have a good one.
All right, Scott Shapiro with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History, and at 10:30, Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin are both back here for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. Plenty more to come on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Scholarships are available. Visit rtip.arizona.edu.
Curling, the classic sire.
They're off in the Derby City disdain. And obligatory.
And it's got to be Clariere in the Tip Stakes. Nest, much the best. She won by better than 10 lengths in this coaching club. American Oaks, Cody's Wish, with the upset in the Fargo. And Malathon has won the Personal Ensign Stakes.
Curling, standing at Hill and Dale.
Here with Joe Brown Nicholson of Nicholson Insurance Agency. Joe, what would be a common misunderstanding between an insured and the insurance company?
Mike, one issue is a policy condition that requires notification when an insured animal becomes sick or injured.
Do you mean in life-threatening situations?
Not just then, but if a veterinarian is called in for treatment other than routine care, take for example if a yearling colt gets his foreleg caught in a fence and tears the skin. The coat is stitched up and everything seems fine, but later the coat develops a systemic infection. Then there is a serious situation that the company knows nothing about.
So the company needs to know even if it's not a life-threatening situation.
That's right. It's a policy condition. The company has a stake in the health of the animal because of the existing insurance policy. The company might want to have its own vet examine the horse. In most cases, though, just a call or email is all that is needed.
For all your equine and general insurance needs, including farm owners, liability, homeowners, auto, and more, contact Nicholson Insurance Agency at 859-224-7080. You gotta know Joe.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was named after a comedian, was foaled in the same crop as Secretariat, and earned an Eclipse Award as America's champion sprinter. His name was Shecky Green. Foaled in Florida on January 30th, 1970, Shecky Green was a bay colt by No Holm, a former Australian Horse of the Year, out of Leicester's Pride by Model Cadet. The colt was bred and owned by Joe Kellman, head of a Chicago glass manufacturing concern and also a boxing promoter who had overseen the 1971 heavyweight bout between Jerry Quarry and Tony Doyle. Kellman often named his homebreds after friends of his who were comedians, and he decided to name this particular colt after Chicago native and Las Vegas headliner Shecky Green. And the colt bearing that name was sent to Chicago native Lou Goldfine for training. As a 2-year-old in 1972, Shecky Green began his career by equaling the track record at Arlington Park for 5 furlongs in a time of 57 1/5 seconds. In fact, Shecky Green won his first 4 races as a juvenile, including a score by 9 lengths in the Arlington, Washington Futurity. But there was a problem. He proved unable to win outside Chicago. This fact became especially clear when Shecky Green suffered losses in the Cowden Stakes in New York and the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs. In fact, he was beaten 31 lengths in the latter event. Goldfine and his assistant, George Huffnagel, were puzzled. The colt appeared to have an issue with his right front leg, but x-rays were negative. Dr. Robert Copeland, a pioneer in the field of equine orthopedic surgery, found nothing wrong with the colt's bones and joints. Instead, Dr. Copeland suggested the problem was not one of bone, but of muscle. And so he recommended an anti-inflammatory medication and advised Goldfine to take a cautious approach toward bringing Shecky Green back to the races. Goldfine listened. Goldfine returned Shecky Green to the racetrack for a narrowly constructed regimen of jogging. Not galloping, but jogging. He was to do nothing more than jog. First it was 2 furlongs, then it was 3. Eventually, he was jogging a half mile. Shecky Green continued progressing and made his 3-year-old debut on Valentine's Day, 1973 at Hialeah Park. The result? Shecky Green won by 8 lengths in track record time, 1 minute 8 3/5 seconds for the 6 furlongs with Braulio Baeza aboard. 1 week later, he won the Florida Breeders' Handicap at 7 furlongs, carrying 127 pounds. The runner-up carried 116. In his next start, Shecky Green took the 20th running of the Hutchison Stakes at Gulfstream Park, equaling the track record for 7 furlongs in 1 minute 20 4/5 seconds. He then stretched to 2 turns and won the Fountain of Youth, always a significant Derby prep. A win at Churchill Downs on April 28th in the Stepping Stone Purse at 7 furlongs, 1 week before the Kentucky Derby, had Kelman dreaming of roses. But the Derby, of course, would belong to Secretariat, while Shecky Green ran 6th after setting the early pace. But while the nation was being dazzled by Big Red, Lou Goldfine was busy mapping a campaign for the remainder of 1973, which would carry Shecky Green to an Eclipse Award as champion sprinter. He won the Select Handicap at Monmouth Park, the Midwest Handicap at Hawthorne, the Kelso Handicap at Delaware Park, and the Patuxent Handicap in Maryland. He won a total of 7 stakes on the year and went unbeaten at 6 furlongs. Shecky Green was retired from racing the following year in October of 1974 and went to stud Womack Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. His final race record, 15 wins from 29 starts, including 9 stakes victories and 3 track records to go with that Eclipse Award. As a stallion, he sired 33 stakes winners, including European champion juvenile Green Desert. The sire of 10 crops of foals, Shecky Green died on March 9, 1984, of a heart attack at Womack and was laid to rest at Ashford Stud Farm, owned at the time by veterinarian Bill Lockridge, who was a key figure in Shecky Green's syndication for stallion duty. Some might remember Shecky Green as a footnote to Kentucky Derby history. Led the race for 7 furlongs and then finished off the board as Secretariat was beginning his Triple Crown run. But Shecky Green also reminds one that there was more to 1973 than the Triple Crown, and that a loss to Secretariat need not define a horse's entire career. A champion in his own right, Shecky Green has earned his place in racing history by reminding us that success does not just come at classic distances. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
And once again, my thanks to Kurt and to Keeneland for making those segments possible each and every week. If you have missed any of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments, all you have to do is head back over to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can check out the special podcast page dedicated to those stories and listen to every single one. There have been some amazing ones. Go back and listen at horseracingradio.net. When I come back, Del Romans, Tim Wilkin, they will be here. It is this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
New to Coolmore America for 2023 is Jack Christopher. A son of top sire Munnings and a three-time Grade 1 winner, Jack Christopher was an 8 3/4 length winner on debut at Saratoga at 2 before winning the Grade 1 Champagne with a whopping 102 Beyer. His 3-year-old campaign included wins in the Grade 2 Pat Day Mile, the Grade 1 Woody Stevens by 10 lengths, and the Grade 1 H. Allen Jerkins. Jack Christopher stands at an introductory fee of $45,000. Call the team at Ashford today to book your mare before he fills up.
Sam Houston Race Park's live thoroughbred meet runs through April 8th and features a new afternoon racing schedule for 2023 with racing Friday through Sunday and a first post at 1 p.m. Central. We're looking forward to March 25th, Texas Champions Day. Make it to Sam Houston Race Park as the best in Texas compete in 7 exciting stakes races. The 9 race card starts at 1 p.m. at Houston's Best Bet. Canadian racing fans are invited to play Sam Houston at simulcast outlets throughout Canada and on HPI Bet. For more information, visit shrp.com.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of DuBois standing in Kentucky. DuBois, one of the world's most celebrated stallions, is now a sire of sires. His top sons at stud are making a name for themselves across the globe. With a picture-perfect pedigree, this son of DuBois brings one of the world's most potent bloodlines to America. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Pantalassa moves back to the rails, has the advantage. Geoglyph in second place. Then between horses, Cafe Pharaoh, Japan all over the place here. They had the first 4. Pantalassa tried the last home. In second place, Geoglyph. Right down the outside, Country Grammar is staying on, but Pantalassa is lasting home at the moment. 50 yards to go. Pantalassa, Country Grammar on the sea late, but too late. Pantalassa takes it for Japan, the one they missed last year. They get this time. Country Grammar in second, and all of the Japanese runners all in a heap behind Cafe Pharaoh.
Panthalassa and Country Grammar, the 1-2 finishers in the Saudi Cup, square off again in today's Dubai World Cup. Who is most likely to find themselves standing in the winner's circle? Plus, jockeys Frankie Dettori and Jerry Bailey are tied at the top with 4 World Cup wins apiece. If you absolutely had to win one race and could only choose one of those jockeys, which of the riders would you want in the saddle? And which fillies do Dale and Tim have their eye on as we make our way down the road to the Kentucky Oaks? We're going to talk about those topics and much, much more on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin. And it is all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. And it all starts just 30 seconds from right now.
Learn the business of horses in the world's only accredited equine business program, the University of Louisville Equine Business Program. The University of Louisville has a legacy of excellence educating and developing industry leaders for over 35 years. Classes are taught by industry experts in state-of-the-art facilities located in the heartland of America's equine industry. The University of Louisville Equine Business Program. When it comes to horses, we mean business. For more information, visit business.louisville.edu/equine.
All right, guys, plenty to talk about in the desert later today, and we're going to begin with Saudi Cup winner Panthalassa and last year's Dubai World Cup winner Country Grammar, who renew that rivalry later today in this year's Dubai World Cup. The speedy Panthalassa will have to overcome outside post number 14, while Country Grammar didn't get much of a break there. He's going to break just to his inside in post number 13.
So, guys, I'll ask you, and Dale, I'll come to you first since you are a Dubai World Cup winning trainer. Which horse is more likely to overcome their wide draw and find themselves in the winner's circle later today?
Well, I'll go Country Grammar. I was sitting next to Bob at the sale the other day when he got the call in the post position. He didn't seem real happy about it, but he seems to be able to overcome obstacles. And so I'll take Country Grammar. You know, back when I won it, it was a one-turn race, and we came out of 12 hole, which was perfect in a one-turn race to be outside. But now that they go around 2 turns, that outside post is going to be tough to overcome against the best horses in the world.
When you won it with Roses in May, I remember how excited you were. Obviously, you win the Dubai World Cup, but what do you remember about that night?
Well, I mean, it was a stressful night, of course, and I had a lot going on. I had a lot of horses in quarantine back here in the United States because of strangles, 90 of them. I wasn't able to run. I was going broke. And Roses in May got me out of a major trap that night. All I remember is a little girl, she said at the end, it was a blur, kind of a blur, but the little girl ran down and stuck a microphone in my face from England. She said, "You seem very emotional tonight." I was thinking to myself, "Baby, if you only knew what that $360,000 meant to me today, you'd understand."
That's a great story. It's a great story. Timmy, what do you think? Is it Country Grammar or is it Panthalassa who overcomes the outside post, if indeed one of those two were going to win?
Well, I mean, it's like Japan against the United States. I mean, we only have the one runner, Country Grammar, and there's, I think, eight of the 15 are from Japan. They really want to win this race for the second time. They won it once before. Panthalassa, I don't know what to make of him, even though he won that race at Saudi. I mean, that was only his second start on dirt in the Saudi. He won the Dubai Turf last year, and this year, you know, going to this race, he's going to be going an extra 200 yards from the Saudi race, and you know he wants the lead. He's gonna have to go and get the lead from out there, and Country Grammar, you know, comes from out of it. So I think Country Grammar would have the better chance of those two. But I think there's going to be, you know, because there's a lot of unknowns in this race. And the U.S. used to be, you know, a big participant in this race. I mean, in the last 12 years, they've only had one participant once. I mean, and you know, the U.S., it's a who's who of, you know, big-time runners from the U.S. that have won this race, like Curlin and Cigar, Silver Charm, Arrogate, Chrome, the great Roses in May. But yeah, put a gun to my head for this race today. I'm going to say Country Grammar.
Yeah.
Of those two.
He said a lot of words to get to where we all knew he was going, Bob Baffert's horse.
Yeah. You know, look, Bob Baffert has had a ton of success in this race, right? Why?
Yeah.
I mean, is it a certain type of horse that he brings over there? I mean, obviously, big names like Arrogate and Silver Charm certainly help, but is there a certain type of horse, Dale, that you have to make that trip to Dubai and be successful over that racing surface?
I mean, where has Bob not had success? But yeah, you got to have a nice, big, rugged horse. And I actually went up before I went over. I talked to Bob. I talked to Bill Mott and picked their brains on what they did. And they both had a good handle on how to ship over and what to do with their horse. And I mean, he's a wizard with a racehorse. We all know that.
All right, well, Country Grammar, the selection for both Dale and Tim to overcome the outside post and find his way to the winner's circle. Frankie Dettori is once again back aboard Country Grammar. Last year, Frankie equaled Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey with a 4th World Cup win aboard the aforementioned Country Grammar. If you absolutely had to win a race and you could only choose one, which of those two jockeys would you want in the saddle? Tim?
Man, this is just, you know, picking apples and oranges. I mean, they're both, you know, the highest echelon that's ever jumped in a saddle in this sport. I mean, people in the U.S. are obviously more familiar with Jerry because, you know, he's one of the all-time greats in the United States. You know, he still ranks in the top 5 in earnings, career earnings. He's been retired since, 2005? And he's won the most Eclipse awards of any jockey in North America, 7. But, you know, Frankie Dettori, he's Europe's main dog. I mean, he got more than 500 group wins in there, and he's come over here and he's done well. When he's come over here, Jerry has 15 Breeders' Cup wins. Frankie's got 14. But if I'm going to pick one, I'm picking Jerry Bailey, because I've always thought that he had the best clock in his head of any jockey I've ever seen. And if in a big race, one race winner take all, I'm going to take Jerry Bailey.
I'll have to agree with you, Tim. I mean, I love Frankie, and Frankie's won 3 races at Gulfstream Park. One of them was for me. And it was a claimant horse I owned myself. And I told him, I said, he was prepping for he wanted to ride a few before the Pegasus. And I told him, whatever you do, Frankie, we're getting the winner's circle. Don't do a flying dismount off this claimant horse that I own and sprain your ankle and not get to ride the race. So as soon as we walked in the winner's circle, he told the groom, he said, straighten his head. And there goes the flying dismount. And that's one of the best win pictures I've got. It's got him stretched out in midair, coming off of a sportscaster, and before he hits the ground. It was a great picture. But they're both great riders. But I agree, I have to go with Jerry Bailey. We won a lot of races together. He wrote Kitten's Joy a lot of times, and Roses of May, and a lot of good horses. And Pat Day is my all-time favorite. And I asked Pat at dinner one night who he thought the best he ever rode with, and he said Jerry Bailey.
Yeah. And not to forget the success he had at Saratoga. I mean, after Angel Cordero, Jerry's got the most Saratoga riding wins of anybody.
Yep.
More than Johnny V?
So you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with either one of them. I mean, they're both wizards on the back of the race horse.
Yeah, I believe Jerry's got 7 titles at Saratoga. I don't think Johnny's got that many.
Wow. Yeah, he was the man for a very long time, and there was probably a generation of racing fans out there now that don't really remember Jerry Bailey when he was doing his thing, but he was as dominant as any athlete in any sport when he was on top of his game, wasn't he?
Absolutely was. And one of the most difficult jockeys to deal with. You come down after a race, he'd start yelling at you. He was so intense all the time. And so Bill Mott, as everybody knows, rode him on every horse all the time. I went to Bill one day and said, how do you deal with this guy after a race? He said, I won't talk to him after a race. He said, I wait till the next day. He comes to the barn and we go over what happened the day before. He said, but remember, that little edge he has all the time may be why he's so great. Mm-hmm. So I kind of looked at it a little different and gave him a little more slack after races. I wouldn't go down and talk to him either.
Well, that's a whole other topic we'll have to bring back on another show. But you hear that about a lot of the great riders, Gary Stevens included, right? If he lost a race, he wasn't happy about it, and that's what makes those riders so good, that competitive nature that they have, that will to win, and that disdain for losing is what makes them so good.
Absolutely. And you can tell Jerry's even taking it into his broadcasting career, his intensity. I mean, he's always so well prepared. We don't have a horse in a big race that him or Randy Moss aren't calling. And if they're calling me, you know how many people they're calling about every horse in the race, doing their research, and they're very well prepared when they go on TV.
Yep. Yeah. Two of the best, Frankie Dettori and Jerry Bailey. Hard to separate them, but Jerry Bailey will be the choice of Dale and Tim this morning. All right, time to welcome our good friend Nick Zito to the show. We remember him every week with this week's edition of Right or Wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
2 topics to get to this morning. Number 1, Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike is dealing with what is being described as a non-serious issue, but it is going to cause him to push back his 2023 debut, which was supposed to take place in today's Kentucky Cup Classic at Turfway. Guys, if I were to say that Rich Strike will be a more significant player than Country Grammar in this year's older horse division, would I be right or wrong?
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right?
Dale, am I right?
Nah, I think that's a no-brainer. Country Grammar, I'd put my money on him to make it between now and the end of the year. I think you're wrong on that one.
And you love Rich Strike.
And I love Rich Strike. I like everything about him. I just don't know if he can keep up with Country Grammar.
Timmy?
Well, with Country Grammar, last year, after he came back from Dubai, he didn't run again until July, the end of July. So I'm thinking that Rich Strike could be more of a factor if he runs, because he may have more opportunities than Country Grammar, just because he may race more. So I'm going to say that Rich Strike, and I'm going to say Rich Strike has the opportunity to be more of a factor than Country Grammar, just based on the fact that he just might show up more in the entry box.
All right. So Rich Strike for Tim, and Dale will stick with Country Grammar as the horse to have the bigger impact between the two in this year's older horse division. How about this
one? You
one?
realize why he picked that horse, don't you? Because he didn't want me to jump on him about Baffert again. He tried to zig. We all know what you really think.
Dale, you're thinking too much.
All right, here's topic number 2. The Louisiana Derby has given us the winner of the Kentucky Derby in 2 of the past 4 years, although neither has crossed the finish line first at Churchill Downs. You had Country House in 2019 and then Mandaloun in 2021. So, guys, if I were to say the winner of this year's Kentucky Derby is among the 12 horses entered in today's Louisiana Derby, would I be right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Timmy?
Well, I'm going to say wrong because Forte isn't running in the Louisiana Derby. This is the first of 8 100-point races, prep races to the winner. I mean, things are really getting serious now. The Louisiana Derby. I mean, the favorite is Instant Coffee from Brad Cox. He's the horse that everyone expects to win this race, I think. And, you know, the horse that wins this race is going to be ahead of Forte in the points race because it's 100 points. And there's 2 other qualifying races today, the UAE Derby and the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So Forte's won't be number 1 after this race. He'll be 4th. But I don't think the Louisiana Derby is going to produce the winner. I could be, Instant Coffee comes out and runs a hole in the wind. Maybe he becomes the main competition to Forte. But this is a sport that's what have you done for me lately? And whoever comes out of this race is going to have to wow somebody to think they're going to go to Kentucky and be the favorite. So I'm going to say no. And I think that the horse I'm really watching for in the Louisiana Derby is Pletcher's Kingsbarn, who has won his first 2 starts jumping right into this race. So the rich could get richer with Todd Pletcher if this horse runs well. So, but I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going there either. I think that it's a good race, but I think there's better horses around the country, and I think that, like I said, the champion is staying over here at Gulfstream, and hopefully we upset him next week. And since Cyclone Mischief and the champ aren't in there, I'm going to say no also.
All right, that is right or wrong. We'll bring that segment back again next week, as we do every week here on I Ask, They Answer. And our thanks to our good friend Nick Zito for lending his dulcet tones to that segment, as he does every week. All right, one more topic before we get to our closing shot, our final parting shot of the week. So much emphasis, guys, is placed on the Kentucky Derby at this time of year that quite often the ladies get overlooked. So I want to talk about racing's leading ladies on the road to the Kentucky Oaks. Who are your top 3 fillies right now on the road to the Oaks? Dale?
Well, I'm going to stick with the 2 tops that both got upset 2 at the top, Wonder Wheel and Who's Your Filly. Those would be my 2 favorites. And then Wet Paint would be my 3rd one I would throw in there. Horse is really doing well. Had a good winner over at Oakland Park. We know Brad knows how to come in and win this race. So I'm going to stick with the 2, even though they flopped first time out, that they could come back and rebound. And then I'll throw Wet Paint in there for my 3rd.
Jesus, Dale, you're a chalk eater.
I got real chalky here, yes. I couldn't find anything else. What did you find?
Well, I'm sticking with Wonder Wheel because she's on my team, so I got to keep her, and I think she will rebound off of that Suncoast. Finish the second in the Suncoast, and I'm putting Wet Paint in, but with an asterisk, because Wet Paint has shown that she really likes an off track. She won the Honeybee on a sloppy track. She won the Martha Washington on a wet track. She won a maiden race in the sloppy track. She has to do it for me on a dirt track, but right now I'm going to keep her in there. And I have all the respect in the world for Hoosier Philly, but because she's on your team, Dale, I'm not going to pick her.
That's bad.
I'm going to go a little off the box and go with a 3-year-old filly from Chad Brown's barn named Shitta Booty, who she beat her. She won the Busher in Aqueduct as the 4th choice. That was on a muddy track too, but she'd break her maiden by 8.5. I think she has a lot of upside, so I'm going to go with her, Wonder Wheel, and a very timid endorsement for Wet Paint. And Hoosier Philly might be the best of them all.
Yeah, Hoosier Philly is on Team Victory. That is Dale's team. If you're just following us here and you're just listening to the show, maybe for the first time, and you don't know about the showdown, that is Tim versus Dale. Tim is Team Lost in the Fog. Dale is Team Victory. And they have selected a team of 5 horses. This will run through the Belmont Stakes, so there's plenty of time for each team to get some points. But, Dale, you're ahead 12-10 right now, and you're holding a pretty strong hand. You can put some separation on Timmy later today because not only do you have Hoosier Philly on your team, who goes in the Fairgrounds Oaks, but you also have Art Collector, who is going to be in the New Orleans Classic. So you've got a good chance to put some separation on Timmy here.
I'm feeling pretty good about my team.
Well, I've got
Timmy's down to 4
now because I'm down to 4. I mean, Arabian Night is on the shelf till the summer. I still think I should get to pick another one, but I guess the tournament gods are not agreeing with me, so I'll just have to beat them with 4.
Well, I agree with you. I think you should get to pick one more, but I think in doing that, then I get to pick a trade later on.
A what? You get to pick
I get to trade one of mine for another one later.
I think the only way you should get to pick another one is if one goes on the shelf. I don't think you can just get rid of one because you don't like it.
You're being self-serving on me, Timmy. Come on, I was on your side.
Yeah, he feels that way now, Timmy, until one of his horses ends up on the shelf.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we may have to do that. Maybe next week, Timmy, we'll add another horse to your stable, but we have to do it before the races so that we'll figure it out. We'll come up with a plan there. We'll add one more to Timmy because he is down to 4. Dale still has a full team of 5. And, again, some really good ones going today, and he can put some separation between he and Tim in the showdown. You can see the score update at horseracingradio.net. We update it every single week after the races. Okay, it is time to wrap up the show with our parting shot, as we do every week. So each of you get a chance to make one final comment, whatever it is that's on your mind. Timmy, why don't you kick it off this week?
Well, I'm looking forward to the Jeff Ruby Stakes. I want to see if Todd Pletcher can even get richer because he's got Major Dude running on the synthetic there, and this is a 2-time great stakes winner on the grass. And this horse looks like he has a lot of upside. And it'd be interesting if this horse wins, what Todd does with him if he moves on to Kentucky to go on the dirt.
Yeah, I want to say that I think we're going into 6 of the best weeks in sports. We've got the last round of Derby preps. We've got the Masters, the NCAA tournament, and in 6 weeks from now, we'll be running in the Kentucky Derby. I think that any sportsman's got to love this time of the year. Spring is here.
And baseball season starts next week.
Yep.
Yeah, you can have that sport.
What, you don't like baseball?
It's like watching Fincher.
American apple pie.
Never had a team.
Now they're trying to make it better for you, Dale. They're putting a pitch clock in this year.
Yeah, to speed it up a little bit. I'd rather just watch I like to follow baseball, but I don't like to watch it. It bores me. I'll watch SportsCenter.
All right, there you have it. The parting shots from Dale and Tim this morning. Guys, we're going to do it all over again next week. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck at the races, and we'll talk next Saturday.
All right, fellas. Talk to you later.
All right. If you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim debate, you know what to do. Just email those topics to me, and I'll work them into the show for you over the weeks ahead. This is I Ask, They Answer. It's all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with more. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
It's that time of year again. The Keeneland Spring Meet is back. We hope to see you on opening day, Friday, April 7th. Make sure to pre-purchase tickets to join your friends and family for world-class racing at Keeneland. Gates open at 11. First post at 1 o'clock. Visit Keeneland.com for a full schedule of races and events. And be sure to download the Keeneland Race Day app before you go. See you there.
Hi, Tony. Hey, Matthew. There's a reason why Tony's Steaks and Seafood is my favorite restaurant. It's because I want to feel part of the family. Isn't that right, Tony?
That's right. There's a saying on the wall that I truly believe in. There's always room for one more at our table. We just want you to be part of our family.
And believe me, you will be. It's Tony's Steaks and Seafood right across from Triangle Park. Visit them at TonySteaksandSeafood.com.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no. So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that catch-up.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Small cell lung cancer can affect anyone, not only smokers. The good news is early lung cancer screenings can detect small cell lung cancer before it spreads, when the disease is most treatable. Join Stand Up to Cancer and Jazz Pharmaceuticals to raise awareness of small cell lung cancer and accelerate the pace of research. Ask your healthcare provider about screening options that might be right for you or a loved one. Visit standuptocancer.org/lung to learn more.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show on Sirius 216, XM 204, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Lily T on the outside with Pat Day takes command. Casualizes second and the others are dropping back. Coming through the stretch and to the wire. Lily T on the outside. Has the lead by one. Casualizes second. Lily T wins the Derby by one. With Pat Day aboard. Casualized second. Four back it was Dance Floor. Then came Countess de Savoia, followed by Pine Bluff. Along the inside, Dr. Devious. Then it was Al Sabine, and finally, Arazi, who made a bold move around the far turn, but didn't have it in the stretch. And the Derby, a slow one, 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
Well, they say time only matters when you're in jail, right? Well, didn't matter for Little E.T. Didn't care how fast or how slow he ran, and neither did Pat Day as jockey when they won 31 years ago in Louisville, the 1992 Kentucky Derby. Dave Johnson had the call. Little E.T. paid $35.60 to win that race. He previously had won at Turfway Park before winning the Kentucky Derby. I think it was called the Spiral or maybe the Lane's End back in 1992, or even the Jim Beam Stakes potentially. They've had several sponsors of that race. In 2011, Animal Kingdom won that same race at Turfway, paid $43.80 to win the Kentucky Derby. And, of course, last year, Rich Strike was third in the modern-day Jeff Ruby Stakes and went on to pay $163.60 to win the Kentucky Derby. So if you're a believer in the horse coming out of today's Jeff Ruby Stakes, going on to the Kentucky Derby, whether it's the winner of that race or a horse that finishes second or third, as Rich Strike did last year, you're going to get rewarded with a big payoff. You heard Tim Wilkin talking about Todd Pletcher in today's Jeff Ruby Stakes, and Major Dude, who's 5-2 on the morning line. I don't think he's going to pay $163.60 if he wins the Jeff Ruby Stakes and goes on to Louisville and wins the Kentucky Derby. But you could get $35 or $40 for a $2 win wager. So if you like the horse coming out of the Jeff Ruby Stakes, you're more than likely going to get a big price when they get to Louisville on the first Saturday in May. Same thing with the Sunland Derby tomorrow, by the way. Those horses are not going to be highly regarded when they come to Louisville. Just ask Mind That Bird, the only horse to come out of the Sunland Derby and win the Kentucky Derby. Huge price, 50-1. Don't forget the March issue of Blood Horse Magazine features 146 pages, including so many great stories. You also have Blood Horse Daily, and you can follow the road to the Kentucky Derby on Blood Horse Daily, and you can have latest racing, breeding, sales, industry news, all of that delivered to you at your fingertips. Go to bloodhorse.com/daily to download the app or sign up now. My thanks to all my guests for making today's show possible, including Scott Shapiro with the TwinSpires Triple Play, Dale and Tim just a few moments ago, and Kurt Becker with a Stroll Through Racing History. Huge weekend of thoroughbred racing. Enjoy it. The road to the Derby is really heating up, and as Dale said, this might be the greatest time to be a sports fan. So much going on in the world of sports, not just in racing. Enjoy every second of it. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening to the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Go Steelers.